Chapter 160, Xiao Juanhao was scolded Imperial Father, please forgive me, it is my fault. Upon hearing Emperor Qiming's words, Xiao Juanhao subconsciously wanted to explain, but knowing Emperor Qiming's character, he eventually just admitted his mistake silently. However, Xiao Junhao's admission of guilt not only failed to appease Emperor Qiming but rather worsened his mood. So, a simple admission of guilt can absolve you of all responsibility. You have repeatedly disappointed me. One give you opportunity after opportunity, and this is how you repay me. I accept my mistake. Facing Emperor Qiming's rebuke, Xiao Juanhao dared not argue and could only bow his head in guilt. At this moment, Xiao Nanya spoke up quietly, Imperial brother, this matter might not be related to Prince Qing. Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, everyone present was stunned, especially Xiao Juanhao. Instinctively, he suspected Xiao Nanya of scheming something, but Xiao Nanya didn't look at him. Puzzled by the matter, Emperor Qiming was now focusing on Xiao Nanya. You are actually defending him. I'm not speaking in favor of Prince Qing. I just find the situation odd. This Mingqing Hall is the main hall and has always been maintained by specialists. Now, all these 8 golden dragons have lost their heads. It's truly strange. Therefore, Imperial brother, in my view, this matter might not necessarily be Prince Qing's fault. Why don't we let the Imperial Astronomical Bureau investigate? Although he didn't understand why Xiao Nanya was defending him, upon seeing Emperor Qiming's expression soften a bit, Xiao Juanhao quickly said, Imperial Father, during the palace refurbishment, I have put in all my effort. As for the matter of the golden dragons, one truly do not know the reason behind it. One plead for your forgiveness. Hearing their words, Emperor Qiming fell silent. A moment later, he looked at Xiao Juanhao and said, get up. After Xiao Juanhao stood up, Emperor Qiming turned to Wang Kuan and said, go bring the people from the Imperial Astronomical Bureau. Yes. Wang Kuan quickly turned and left. Half a teacup's time later, an old man with a white beard appeared in front of everyone. He was the head of the Imperial Astronomical Bureau, Bai Yi. Upon seeing Emperor Qiming, Bai Yi quickly stepped forward and paid his respects. Your humble servant pays his respects to the Emperor. Long live the Emperor. First, take a look at how these golden dragons lost their heads. Yes, Your Majesty. Hearing Emperor Qiming's words, Bai Yi stood up and began to closely observe the Mingqing Hall. He nodded and shook his head from time to time, his hands constantly fiddling as if calculating something. Just as Emperor Qiming's patience was about to run out, he turned to him and said, Your Majesty, these golden dragons have lost their heads. It is. One dare not say. Bai Yi looked flustered, but as he spoke, his gaze kept drifting towards Xiao Juanhao. Seeing this, Xiao Juanhao suddenly had a bad feeling. Emperor Qiming frowned and spoke directly, speak your mind. What are you afraid to say in front of me? Please forgive me, Your Majesty. Bai Yi immediately knelt down and continued, the reason why the golden dragon was lost their head was because His Highness, the Qing King, and Your Majesties, the Emperor, are incompatible with each other. Therefore, if His Highness repairs this palace, not only will it affect the fate of the country, but it will also harm Your Majesty, the Emperor. Nonsense. Before Bai Yi could finish his words, Xiao Juanhao glared at him darkly, ready to strike, but was blocked by Xiao Nanya. Facing Xiao Junhao's angry gaze, Xiao Nanya spoke softly, Prince Qing, how dare you act in front of the Emperor? Imperial Father, please forgive me, but this Bai Yi, he is clearly being manipulated. After saying this, Xiao Juanhao glared at Bai Yi, who instructed you to slander me? Your Majesty, one swear on my life that I am not talking nonsense. I am the Emperor's son, and you dare to utter such nonsense. You dare say you're not talking nonsense. You, although His Highness is the Emperor's child, His Highness doesn't only have the Emperor's blood. His Highness' birth mother is of low status. Before Xiao Juanhao could finish his words, Bai Yi quietly interrupted him. Upon hearing this, Xiao Junhao's gloomy eyes immediately turned murderous. Jiang Peihuan was sure that if it were not in the presence of Emperor Qiming, Bai Yi would have been killed by him already. Xiao Juanhao, what are you doing? Are you trying to kill someone in front of me? Emperor Qiming turned around and saw the murderous intent in Xiao Junhao's eyes. The latter quickly kneeled down and whispered, "Imperial Father, I am innocent, that's enough. This matter ends here. Go back to your Prince Qing's mansion. Don't come to the palace without my order." Emperor Qiming interrupted Xiao Junhao's words before he could finish. At this moment, all the civil and military officials, all the influential people in the court has arrived and heard Emperor Qiming's words. Everyone had different expressions in their eyes. Some were worried, some were mocking. Among these people, only Lin Mengyaro was full of worry when looking at Xiao Juanhao. But Xiao Juanhao didn't glance at Lin Mengyaro. Instead, his eyes were clouded with gloom as he looked at Jiang Peihuan. He couldn't believe that this matter was unrelated to Jiang Peihuan, especially after Xiao Nanya suggested consulting the Imperial Astronomical Bureau. He was more convinced that this was a trap set for him. In fact, Xiao Juanhao was right. This was indeed a trap laid by Jiang Peihuan. Meeting Xiao Junhao's gaze, Jiang Peihuan didn't look away. This trap was a gift from Xiao Juanhao to her in their previous life. In the past, the golden dragons in Mingqing Hall also had their heads severed, but Bai Yi had asserted that the person who was at odds with Emperor Qiming was Jiang Hong. Later, Jiang Peihuan found out that everything was part of Xiao Junhao's scheme. Today, she intended to let Xiao Juanhao experience the taste of his own medicine. "Your Majesty, one will take my leave now." Xiao Juanhao bowed to Emperor Qiming and then turned around to leave. Due to the incident involving the golden dragon, Emperor Qiming was not in a jovial mood. Seeing this, everyone suggested that they should leave. Jiang Peihuan also left with Jiang Hong and Shui Yang. Just as Jiang Peihuan settled into the carriage, she heard the sound of horse hooves. Jiang Ruyun, who was by her side, lifted the curtain and saw Xiao Nanya approaching. She quickly told Jiang Peihuan, "Elder sister, it's King Cheng." Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan looked out the window. Zhueyun had already neared the carriage. The man on the horse looked at the occupants inside the carriage and whispered, "Don't worry about this. I've taken care of everything." Jiang Peihuan understood that Xiao Nanya was referring to the Golden Dragon incident. Hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan nodded, then quietly said, "Thank you. Quan with me, you never need to say thank you." Seeing the man frown, Jiang Peihuan nodded, "Okay, I will remember." Hearing this, a hint of a smile appeared in Xiao Nanya's eyes. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Jiang Hong approaching. "King Cheng, we need to return home. You can move along now, there's no need to block the way." Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 161, The Grievance of Jiang Ruyun. Although Jiang Hong didn't conclude his sentence, Xiao Nanya was able to comprehend his intent from the inflection in his voice. Xiao Nanya cast an intense glance at Jiang Peihuan before raising his whip. Seeing the man's figure disappear around the corner, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ruyun, instructing, "Lower the curtain." Once the curtain was drawn, Jiang Ruyun gazed at Jiang Peihuan with evident admiration. "Elder sister, Prince Cheng is indeed very kind to you. Doesn't young Master Cao treat you well?" "Brother Cao is good to me, but, what is it? Is there something wrong within the Cao family?" Jiang Peihuan had only asked casually, yet she was shocked by the irritation that flitted across Jiang Ruyun's eyes. Reflecting on the Cao family, with Cao Jun's gentle character, as well as the good nature of Master Cao and Madame Cao, Jiang Peihuan couldn't fathom what could be causing Jiang Ruyun's dissatisfaction. Observing Jiang Ruyun's silence, Jiang Peihuan lowered her voice to ask, "Did Master Cao or the Madame Cao show any dissatisfaction towards you?" "No, Uncle Cao and Auntie Cao are very kind to me. However, the old Macam of the Cao family doesn't like me." "Old Madame Cao?" Jiang Peihuan strained to recall, but she had no memory of this person. Inside the carriage of the general's mansion, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun were engaged in conversation, paralleled by Shui Yang and his spouse's dialogue. Reflecting on the recent events, Shui Yang shot an irritated look at Jiang Hong. "What on earth were you doing just now?" Seeing Shui Yang's expression, Jiang Hong rubbed his nose awkwardly and said in a low voice, "Aren't we not married yet? Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking." Hearing Jiang Hong's words, Shui Yang pinched his arm in annoyance. At this moment, a person dressed like a nanny suddenly walked up to Jiang Hong and his wife's carriage. First, Madam Jiang, our old madam has been feeling rather under the weather recently. She would like to see the second miss. Could the second miss perhaps visit our old madam? The one who spoke was Nanny Cow, who was standing beside the old madam of the Cow family. As their carriage trailed closely, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun overheard Nanny Cow's conversation. Recognizing the voice, Jiang Ruyun furrowed her brows, and Jiang Peihuan keenly sensed her mood shift. Turning to Jiang Ruyun, Jiang Peihuan murmured, "This nanny works for the Cow family." Jiang Ruyun nodded in agreement, replying softly, "She is one of old Madam Cow's attendants." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan frowned. According to protocol, if old Madam Cow genuinely wished to see Jiang Ruyun, the invitation should have been extended by Madam Cow, not a nanny. At that moment, Shui Yang's maid approached Jiang Peihuan's carriage. "Second miss, the nanny from old Madam Cow's household has come to escort you. She would like you to pay a visit to the old madam." "I understand. I'll go immediately." Faced with the audience, Jiang Ruyun had no option but to comply. Despite her inner displeasure, she began to lift the curtain of the carriage. However, just as she was about to descend, her hand was held by Jiang Peihuan. "Elder sister, I'll accompany you." In response to Jiang Ruyun's puzzled look, Jiang Peihuan replied calmly. Finishing her words, Jiang Peihuan briskly lifted the curtain and addressed the elderly nanny, "Nanny Cow, since the old madam isn't feeling well, it is only proper as juniors that we pay her a visit. Conveniently, I'll accompany my younger sister. Let's head to the Cow mansion." Saying this, Jiang Peihuan directed her gaze towards the driver. As their carriage moved to the side, Jiang Peihuan looked towards Shui Yang's carriage and announced, "Father, Mother, I'll accompany my younger sister to the Cow mansion. We'll return to our mansion later. Millimeter, remember to show due respect at the Cow mansion." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Shui Yang gently reminded her. Once Jiang Peihuan acknowledged with a nod, she let down the curtain. Witnessing the carriage pass by, Nanny Cow was taken aback. By the time she thought to intervene, the carriage had already covered some distance. On the way to the Cow mansion, Jiang Peihuan learned about the events that had transpired during her brief visit to Qingju. At first, knowing that Cao Jun was set to wed the young lady from the general's mansion, the esteemed old Madam Cow had been overjoyed. Yet, upon discovering that Jiang Ruyun had been previously married and divorced, the old madam's delight turned into incessant nitpicking. Jiang Ruyun was not yet married into the Cow family, but the old madam often used her as an excuse, sending her to the Cow residence to secretly pick on her. "Eldest miss, you don't know how outrageous old Madam Cow is. She actually made the second miss serve her meals. Even at home, the second miss has never had to serve our own old madam." When Jiang Ruyun's maid, Lan said this, her eyes were full of anger. On hearing this, Jiang Peihuan, however, was not very angry, just a bit annoyed. She looked at Jiang Ruyun and said coldly, "You didn't tell second uncle and second aunt about this? You know my father's personality, elder sister. Old Madam Cow is an elder after all, and my father wouldn't say anything. As for my mother, if she knew, I'm afraid she'd stir up trouble." Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan remained silent. If she had guessed correctly, the old Madam Cow dared to act this way only because Jiang Ruyun never complained, and no one in the general's mansion said anything. Looking at Jiang Ruyun, Jiang Peihuan said lightly, "Although old Madam Cow is an elder, you and young Master Cow are not yet married, so she can't be considered your real elder. Moreover, it was the Cow family who took the initiative to marry you, not our general mansion. Therefore, you don't have to lower your stance too much. Even if you truly marry into the Cow family, you are not only the young madam of the Cow family but also the second miss of the general's mansion. You also represent the general's mansion." By the time she finished speaking, the carriage had already arrived. Soon, the driver's voice came from outside, "Eldest miss, second miss, we've arrived." Then the curtain of the carriage was lifted, and Jiang Peihuan directly looked ahead. Seeing the gateway in front of her, Jiang Peihuan frowned. At this time, Nanny Cow smiled at Jiang Peihuan and said, "Eldest miss, second miss, let's go in." As she spoke, Nanny Cow took the lead to walk in. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyes were full of coldness. Wait a minute. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, Nanny Cow stopped, turned her head and looked at her in confusion. Today my sister and I have come to visit the old madam. Does the Cow family's rules actually make guests enter through the side door? Eldest miss, you misunderstood. The rule of the Cow family is that the main entrance is for the master and young master. As for the second miss, since she's engaged to the young master, she will be the young madam of the Cow mansion in the future, so naturally, she can only enter through the side door like the madam. Is this also the old madam's idea? Looking at Nanny Cow, Jiang Peihuan raised her eyebrows. This? Of course, it was the old Madam Cow's idea, but at this moment, Nanny Cow did not dare to say. Seeing her silence, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ruyun. The last few times you came, did you also enter through the side door? Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 162. Going to the Cow family. Jiang Ruyun didn't say anything, but the answer was pretty clear. Anger flashed in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. You used to be so bold at home, but outside, you're completely helpless. In the past, if Jiang Peihuan had spoken to her like this, Jiang Ruyun would have been filled with rage. However, after the previous incident, she knew that Jiang Peihuan truly cared for her. Hearing these words, she didn't get angry, but showed a hint of shame instead. Elder sister, it's my fault. Seeing Jiang Ruyun's agreeable attitude, some of Jiang Peihuan's anger faded. But when she turned to look at Nanny Cow, her eyes were cold. If these are the rules of the Cow family, then one have nothing to say. However, the Cow family has their rules, and we, the Jiang family, have ours. In our family, we don't enter through side doors during our visit. So today, we won't be visiting today. Farewell. With that, Jiang Peihuan got into the carriage. Seeing that Jiang Ruyun was still standing there, Jiang Peihuan ordered, "Get in." Looking at the Cow mansion, there was a trace of indecision in Jiang Ruyun's eyes, but in the end, she got into the carriage. You guys. Nanny Cow watched the scene in disbelief. The carriage of the general's mansion was already heading back the way it came. Nanny, what should we do now? What should we do? Hurry up and tell the old madam. As she spoke, Nanny Cow hurriedly ran into the mansion. Cow mansion. The old Madam Cow was originally just an ordinary farmer's wife. She married old Master Cow because her family had some business that could provide for the Cow family's children's education. Although Master Cow had been an official for many years, the old madam still behaved like a farmer's wife. The main courtyard of the Cow mansion was occupied by the old madam. When Nanny Cow entered the courtyard, Madam Cow was fanning the old madam. This was typically a task for a maid, but the old madam despised Madam Cow's scholarly demeanor and never gave her a gentle look. Master Cow was a scholar who deeply valued filial piety. Even though he was aware that his mother was making his wife's life difficult, he did not dare to speak out. Put some effort into it, haven't you eaten? Old madam asked. Madam Cow, not being physically strong, felt her wrist grow sore after fanning for an hour or two. Hearing the old madam's words, she responded softly, "Mother, my wrist is really sore. Couldn't we let the maid fan you for a while?" What are you suggesting? You're my daughter-in-law, I'm your mother-in-law. If you don't serve me, do you expect a maid to? Mother, one didn't mean that, old madam, bad news. At that moment, Nanny Cow rushed in. Upon seeing Nanny Cow, the old madam sat up. However, when she didn't see a familiar figure, she frowned. Didn't I instruct you to bring that woman here? Where is she? Old madam, she was already at the side door, but the eldest daughter of the Jiang family took her away. Nanny Cow quickly explained the situation. Hearing this, the old madam's eyes filled with rage. Thief truly turned against us. What kind of education does the Jiang family provide for their daughters? She's a divorced woman. Does she believe she's a treasure? Since the old madam is so displeased with my sister, why not just cancel the marriage between the two families? A cold voice emanated from the doorway at that moment. It was Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan was about to leave with Jiang Ruyun, but she ran into Cao Jun on the way and so returned. However, She didn't expect to hear such a conversation upon entering the old madam's courtyard. "You, who are you?" The old madam of the Cow family had always been in control, and this was the first time someone had addressed her in such a way. Her face flushed with anger. Jiang Peihuan disregarded the old madam and bowed to Madam Cow. "Madam Cow, when the marriage was arranged, you and Master Cow personally came to ask for it. My second uncle and aunt believed that the Cow family was filled with scholars, so they agreed to the marriage. However, I didn't know that the Cow family would despise my sister so much. If that's the case, let's cancel the marriage." "No, you can't." Before Madam Cow could respond, Cow Jun interjected. Glancing at Jiang Ruyun, then at Jiang Peihuan, Cow Jun said softly, "Eldest miss, although you're Yun'er's sister, marriage is traditionally arranged by parents. It can't be cancelled just because you say so. My eldest sister can naturally make the decision for my marriage." At this moment, Jiang Ruyun, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. The anger in Jiang Peihuan's eyes faded when she heard this. She turned her gaze towards Jiang Ruyun. Jiang Ruyun thought that Jiang Peihuan was in a difficult situation, so she stepped forward, standing right in front of her. "We, the children of the Jiang family, are one. We share in each other's glory and in each other's loss. Therefore, if my elder sister is unwilling about this marriage, I'll go home and inform our parents right away. We can call off the engagement." "Heh, you think you're still an innocent maiden. You're already a divorced woman. If you break off your engagement with my Jun, do you think you'll be able to marry again? Why do one have to get married? I'm the second daughter of the general's family. As long as the general's mansion exists, I won't starve. Even if my parents and elders think one bring them shame, one can cut my hair and become a nun. It's better than being tormented." As she finished, Jiang Ruyun turned to look at old Madam Cow. In that moment, Madam Cow suddenly held a great respect for Jiang Ruyun. Dropping the fan in her hand, she stepped forward, grasping Jiang Ruyun's hand tightly. "Ruyun, don't say such things. Jana truly cares about you, and I truly like you too, you." By the time she finished, tears filled Madam Cow's eyes. Seeing her in tears, Cow Jun hurried over. "Mother? Aunt, don't be sad." Madam Cow genuinely cared for Jiang Ruyun. Seeing her so distressed, Jiang Ruyun quickly stepped forward. Watching this scene, Jiang Peihuan remained silent. But old Madam Cow was infuriated. She didn't dare to say anything about Jiang Ruyun. After all, she hadn't married into the family yet. However, she was quite harsh towards Madam Cow. "Kneel down." Hearing this, Madam Cow was about to kneel, but was held up by Cow Jun Jun. Looking at her son standing in front of her, Madam Cow's eyes were full of tears. When he first arrived, Jiang Peihuan's words made Cow Jun realize something. After he and Jiang Ruyun get married, he would not only be the son of the Cow family, but also Jiang Ruyun's husband. He must protect her. He couldn't let Jiang Ruyun suffer from his own grandmother anymore. Placing Madam Cow behind him, Cow Jun directly kneeled before old Madam Cow. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 163. Then you don't have to live anymore. Shortly after, he spoke in a low voice. "Grandmother, if you have any dissatisfaction, just scold me, your grandson. But my mother has respected you for many years. You cannot grind her down without reason. I am my mother's child. If you are dissatisfied with her, take it out on me. Jun, please get up." Madam Cow, watching this scene, cried and reached out to pull up Cow Jun. "Good, very good. Foolish people, this is the good son you have raised." Old Madam Cow was so angry that her eyes were filled with blaze. Turning her head, she saw a teacup and grabbed it to throw at Madam Cow. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyes were filled with coldness. Lifting her leg, she kicked the teacup aside. The cup instantly shattered into pieces. And Madam Cow, looking at the broken cup, was filled with horror. "Old Madam Cow, do you realize that if this cup had hit Madam Cow, she would have certainly been seriously injured today?" Old Madam Cow was caught in the heat of the moment, regretted throwing the cup as soon as it left her hand. Seeing that the cup did not hit Madam Cow, she breathed a sigh of relief, but hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, her anger deepened. "You uneducated girl, how dare you speak when your elders are talking? If that's the case, then I'll take my leave. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan didn't want to say anything else and simply spoke. As her voice fell, Jiang Peihuan left immediately. Seeing this, Jiang Ruyun bowed to Madame Cao and followed Jiang Peihuan. But Jiang Peihuan thought for a moment and looked at Jiang Ruyun. Regardless, Madame Cao has been good to you. She was just frightened, so you stay and take care of her. When you find Madame Cao is all right later, then you can go back to the mansion. Yes, elder sister. Jiang Ruyun was also somewhat worried about Cao Jun, so after hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, she stayed. Then, Jiang Peihuan left the Cao mansion alone. Jiang Peihuan left the carriage for Jiang Ruyun and prepared to ride a horse back to the general's mansion. But as she turned the corner, a fragrance came rushing towards her. Although Jiang Peihuan held her breath subconsciously, some of it entered her lungs, and suddenly she felt darkness before her eyes. When Jiang Peihuan woke up, her wrists were in pain, and she saw that her wrists and ankles were tied up. The room was pitch black, and Jiang Peihuan knew it was already night because she saw someone standing by the window, but outside it was dark. Jiang Peihuan had just moved when a man's voice came, "You're awake." Hearing this voice, Jiang Peihuan frowned. The man by the window turned around, and in the darkness, Jiang Peihuan saw his face. It was Xiao Juanhao. Xiao Juanhao slowly walked over to Jiang Peihuan. "Prince Qing, I wonder why you had people kidnap me and bring me here? Don't you know why I'm looking for you?" Jiang Peihuan. Before Jiang Peihuan could say anything, Xiao Juanhao continued, "Why are you treating me this way?" Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Jiang Peihuan's eyes were full of complexity, her heart full of hatred, but her face showed none. "I don't know what Prince Qing means." "Jiang Peihuan, don't play dumb with me." Xiao Juanhao reached out and grabbed Jiang Peihuan's shoulder, looking directly into her eyes. The incident of the golden dragon head was orchestrated by Xiao Nanye. "You can't say it wasn't because of you. Jiang Peihuan, we were together for a while. Don't you have any old feelings for me? Our relationship was good back then. Why are you so heartless? Do you really have no feelings for me at all?" "You, feelings?" "Ha." Before Xiao Juanhao could finish speaking, Jiang Peihuan burst into laughter, as if she had just heard an amusing joke. Although Jiang Peihuan's face was filled with smiles, there was no hint of amusement in her eyes. Instead, it was filled with mockery. She looked at Xiao Juanhao, her eyes full of mockery as she spoke. "Xiao Juanhao, when you were with me, was it really because of love? Or was it because you wanted to use me?" Hearing this, Xiao Junhao's face changed. He suddenly looked at Jiang Peihuan with gentle eyes. "One, admit I was using you before, but if you are willing, I can treat you well in the future. You, am not willing." Jiang Peihuan interrupted him before he could finish. Looking at the man before her, she said directly, "Even though I don't know what you're plotting, I won't have anything to do with you anymore." "Fine, since that's the case, don't blame me for being heartless." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Xiao Junhao's eyes turned dark and sinister. He stood up and slowly walked towards the door. "Originally, one was planning to spare your life, but now, there's no need." With that, he left the room. Watching his retreating figure, Jiang Peihuan frowned. She tried to move her wrists, but no matter how she tried, she couldn't break free. Moreover, the ring on her index finger had been taken away, leaving her no means to cut the ropes. Suddenly, a banging sound came from outside. Jiang Peihuan looked up and saw shadows on the windows. Xiao Juanhao was having the doors and windows sealed. Confusion filled her eyes, but soon she realized what was happening when she smelled the thick smoke. Xiao Juanhao was planning to burn her alive. Soon, flames were reflected in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Outside the door, Xiao Juanhao stood, watching the flames rise, his eyes showing mixed emotions. The fire grew larger. Jiang Peihuan struggled in vain. Suddenly, she saw a vase on the table. With an idea, she slammed into the table, smashing the vase to the ground. With great effort, she grabbed a shard. Then, she began to cut the ropes on her hands. As Jiang Peihuan cut the ropes, the door was kicked open. The person who entered saw her cutting the ropes, eyes filled with worry, but still grabbed her hand. Under the illumination of the fire, Jiang Peihuan saw Xiao Junhao's face. Her eyes were full of confusion. Go. As he spoke, Xiao Juanhao dragged Jiang Peihuan out. The flames grew so intense that it was almost impossible to open one's eyes. Jiang Peihuan forcefully shook off the hand holding her, drew the whip from her waist, and with a flick of her wrist, struck Xiao Junhao's arm. Are you insane? Holding his arm, Xiao Juanhao looked at Jiang Peihuan with furious eyes. At that moment, Xiao Junhao's eyes were filled with pain. He should have just burned Jiang Peihuan to death, but in that split second, when he saw the flames rising, he had impulsively rushed inside. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 164, Xiao Juanhao injured even he himself didn't know why. Just thinking that if Jiang Peihuan really died like this, his heart began to tremble. Jiang Peihuan didn't know what was on Xiao Junhao's mind. She only knew that this man wanted to burn her alive. In her previous life, he had already forced her to take her own life. In this life, he wanted to burn her to death again. Adding up both lives, if she didn't kill him, it would be hard to vent her anger. Jiang Peihuan, what are you doing? Initially, Xiao Juanhao could dodge her attacks, but Jiang Peihuan became more and more fierce. Xiao Juanhao had to fight back and even didn't care to reveal that he knew martial arts. Seeing the man draw his long sword, a deeper look of mockery appeared in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Other people might not know, but she knew better than anyone that Xiao Juanhao not only knew martial arts, but he was also very skilled. So Jiang Peihuan attacked mercilessly, but even so, she was still not a match for Xiao Juanhao. Seeing the fire getting bigger, Jiang Peihuan was preparing to leave, but she was not willing to let Xiao Juanhao go so easily. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared. The man, holding a long sword, lunged at Xiao Juanhao. Xiao Juanhao instinctively dodged, but the man seemed to know his reaction, so his sword directly stabbed his shoulder. When pulling out the sword, the man kicked Xiao Junhao's body, right where he was injured, and Xiao Juanhao fell to the ground. Then, the man picked up Jiang Peihuan and leaped away. After a few jumps, he landed with Jiang Peihuan in a street corner. Xiao Nanye, why are you here? When she was hugged by the man, Jiang Peihuan knew it was Xiao Nanye, so she didn't resist. Hearing her voice, Xiao Nanye pulled off his face cloth. Looking at her, his eyes were full of concern. Are you hurt? Jiang Peihuan shook her head. As he spoke, Xiao Nanye carefully looked over Jiang Peihuan's body, seeing no visible injuries, he heaved a sigh of relief. Turning to Jiang Peihuan, Xiao Nanye continued, I was going to the plum garden to see you, but after waiting a long time and not hearing from you, I learned from Yi Xiao that you went to the cow family, but when I got there, your younger sister said you had left. I knew something had happened to you. He said it calmly, but Jiang Peihuan didn't know that Xiao Nanye had used all his power and strength to find her. Seeing Jiang Peihuan fighting with Xiao Juanhao in the fire, Xiao Nanye's first reaction was to kill Xiao Juanhao directly. Thinking of what happened tonight, Xiao Nanye couldn't help but grasp Jiang Peihuan's hand. Why were you there? Xiao Juanhao wanted to kill me. Then she didn't know what got into him, but Xiao Juanhao wanting to kill her was a fact. Hearing this, Xiao Nanye's eyes instantly turned cold. His hand that was holding Jiang Peihuan's hand tightened. I will settle this score with him today. You don't need to do anything else, I'll handle it myself. Faced with the man's puzzled expression, Jiang Peihuan whispered, no matter what, he is still a prince. If the emperor finds out, it will not be good for you. I don't care. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Xiao Nanye instinctively responded. He wanted to tell her something, but in the end, he closed his mouth. Jiang Peihuan could feel that Xiao Juanhao wanted to say something to her, but since he didn't speak, she didn't ask. For a moment, both of them fell silent. A moment later, after a while, Xiao Nanye looked at Jiang Peihuan and said, let's go, 111 take you back to the mansion. Okay. Jiang Peihuan nodded and began to walk forward. Xiao Nanye raised his hand and whistled. Then, Zui Yun appeared before them. Xiao Nanye got on the horse first, then reached out to Jiang Peihuan. Seeing the man's extended hand, Jiang Peihuan took it, and with a pull, she was seated right in front of Xiao Nanye. The horse headed straight for the general's mansion. Behind them, in the fiery light, A man covered in blood was carried out of the room by Pei Wu. Your Highness. Setting the man down, Pei Wu's eyes were full of concern, but no matter how much he called out, Xiao Juanhao gave no response. Pei Wu saw the wound on Xiao Junhao's shoulder and his face changed instantly. Quick, back to the mansion guard Pei, should we call a doctor? No. Without a second thought, Pei Wu hurriedly responded. After a moment of silence, he looked at a guard and said, You go and get Miss Lin, be quick. Yes. When Xiao Juanhao was brought to the Prince Qing mansion, Lin Mengyaro had also gotten down from the carriage. Pei Wu stood by Xiao Junhao's bedside, and seeing Lin Mengyaro enter, he rushed forward. Miss Lin, His Highness is injured. We can't alert the Emperor about this, so I have no choice but to find you. Lin Mengyaro didn't say anything. She looked at Xiao Juanhao. Seeing the man's condition, her eyes were filled with displeasure. Why is he injured like this? It's all because of the eldest daughter of the Jiang family. After that, Pei Wu briefly explained what had happened. Hearing that Xiao Juanhao had rushed into the fire to save Jiang Peihuan, Lin Mengyao's eyes became dark and cold. However, she quickly regained her composure and looked at Pei Wu, speaking coldly, I will treat His Highness now. Don't let anyone disturb me. Yes. Pei Wu immediately left the room and guarded the door. After he left, Lin Mengyaro removed Xiao Junhao's clothes, and seeing the wound, her eyes were filled with worry. Jiang Peihuan, you are really ruthless. Lin Mengyaro didn't know who caused the wounds on Xiao Juanhao, assuming it was Jiang Peihuan. Carefully helping Xiao Juanhao remove his clothes, Lin Mengyaro heard a sound and looked down to see a red gemstone ring on the floor. It was the one Xiao Juanhao had taken from Jiang Peihuan's finger. Picking up the ring, Lin Mengyao's eyes were filled with mixed emotions. She recognized the ring, having seen it many times on Jiang Peihuan's hand. Your Highness, why did you keep her ring? Lin Mengyaro asked softly, but the man on the bed had no way to answer her. Lin Mengyaro set the ring aside, and then began treating Xiao Juanhao. By the time dawn came, Xiao Juanhao finally opened his eyes. Seeing the person lying on the edge of the bed, Xiao Junhao's eyes held a glimmer of surprise, but realizing it was Lin Mengyaro, he suddenly felt a touch of disappointment. Noticing his own disappointment, Xiao Junhao's eyes darkened. Xiao Juanhao, did you actually hope that it would be that woman? Your Highness, are you awake? Hearing the sound, Lin Mengyaro immediately opened her eyes. Yaro you've worked hard. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 165 I will request the Emperor to grant our marriage. Looking at Lin Mengyaro, who was standing by his side, Xiao Juanhao spoke softly. Your Highness, this is what I should do. You don't need to thank me. Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Lin Mengyaro quickly spoke up. Xiao Juanhao said nothing more but began to look around subconsciously, his eyes finally falling on his coat. Sensing his focus, Lin Mengyaro inquired in a gentle voice, Your Highness, are you looking for something? I'm a bit thirsty, Yaro could you pour me a glass of water? Sure, please wait a moment, she said. Moving from the bedside to the table. Watching her back, Xiao Juanhao picked up his coat and felt inside, pulling out a ruby ring. He stared at the ring, his hand clenched tightly around it. Your Highness, please drink some water, Lin Mengyaro called, returning to his side. Hastily hiding the ring under the blanket, Xiao Juanhao allowed her to help him drink. After a few sips, he gestured that he was done. Setting down the teacup, Lin Mengyaro softly asked, Your Highness, were your injuries caused by eldest Miss Jiang of the Jiang family? Not entirely because of her, but it has something to do with her, he replied. When he thought of the man who had stabbed him, Xiao Juanhao subconsciously felt that the man was Xiao Nanye even though he had covered his face. At the thought of this, his expression turned gloomy again. Yaro there's something I need your help with, he said, leaning over to whisper in her ear. All right, I will ask the princess for help, she nodded, her eyes filled with tenderness. It's no trouble, Your Highness. It's my honor to be able to help you. Looking at Lin Mengyaro, Xiao Juanhao was reminded of Jiang Peihuan, though she was never as gentle as Lin Mengyaro, forever appearing cold and sharp. Your Highness. Lin Mengyao's voice broke his reverie. Your Highness, your injuries are severe. I'll stay here to take care of you for the next few days. All right, have Pei Wu arrange a room for you, he agreed without hesitation, adding, Your Highness, please rest well. I'll go change my clothes and come back to see you later. Okay, Lin Mengyao acknowledged, standing up. As she turned to leave, the tenderness in her eyes vanished, only to reappear when Xiao Juanhao called after her. Yao Your Highness. As soon as my injuries heal, one will request the Emperor to grant our marriage. Your Highness. Lin Mengyao's eyes widened in surprise, then filled with unbridled joy. Thank you, Your Highness. With Lin Mengyao's departure, Xiao Juanhao was left to study the ruby ring, his eyes clouded with conflicting emotions. Meanwhile, at Qing's mansion, Jiang Peihuan remained oblivious to these unfolding events. When the morning light filtered into the room, Jiang Ruyun knocked gently on Jiang Peihuan's door. Elder sister, she called. Jiang Peihuan, who had just risen from bed, answered calmly, Come in. Elder sister, you didn't encounter any danger yesterday, did you? Jiang Ruyun's eyes were filled with concern as she entered the room. Recalling Xiao Nanyes' visit the day before, she had been frightened, fearing something had happened to her sister. Only late at night, when she heard from Lan that Jiang Peihuan had returned safely, had she been able to breathe a sigh of relief. If it hadn't been so late, she would have come over last night, but this morning, she could wait no longer. Seeing her sister's worry, Jiang Peihuan smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, I'm fine. There was a little issue yesterday, so I was late. She kept to herself the details of what Xiao Juanhao had done, especially since she hadn't been the one at a loss. That's good, Jiang Ruyun said. Do you plan to tell second uncle and second aunt about the cow family? Jiang Peihuan posed the question as they sat down in the small flower hall. Jiang Peihuan regarded her for a moment before speaking. Jiang Ruyun's silence was a thoughtful one, and after a pause, she looked up to say, Elder sister, I don't want to tell father and mother about this for now. And I believe that after this incident, if I ever have a conflict with old Madam Cow, Brother Cow will protect me. Jiang Ruyun's reflections on the previous day's events had brought her understanding. She couldn't have everything, but she considered herself fortunate compared to her future mother-in-law, Madam Cow. At least Cow Jun would stand by her, something Madam Cow hadn't had in facing old Madam Cow all those years. Jiang Peihuan simply nodded, respecting her sister's wishes regarding her own marriage. But she couldn't help adding, after you marry into the Cow family, if anything really happens, you must tell us at home. I know, Jiang Ruyun affirmed, aware that her marriage was postponed due to not wanting to offend Xiao Nanye, which had led to the postponement of both hers and Jiang Peihuan's weddings. Eldest Miss Liu has arrived, Yu announced, interrupting their conversation as she entered the small hall. Jiang Peihuan set down her teacup and spoke softly, let her in. Moments later, Liu Xin, accompanied by a maid, entered the room, bowing to the sisters and smiling. I didn't know the second young miss was here with Sister Jiang. I'm sorry for interrupting. It's no problem. Come sit, Jiang Peihuan replied graciously. Liu Xin nodded, smiling, but her eyes flitted to Jiang Ruyun involuntarily. The glance did not escape Jiang Peihuan, who remained silent. Jiang Ruyun, however, addressed Liu Xin directly, her voice soft. Miss Liu, I was rude before. I especially want to apologize to you here. Liu Xin's eyes widened, filled with surprise. Second miss, please don't say that. Her confusion was evident, hinting at an underlying tension and the unspoken matters that lay between them. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 166, Liu Xin bid farewell. Since you call me sister, you don't need to call me second young miss anymore. Just call me Sister Ruyun. Alright, then from now on I'll call you Sister Ruyun. Then I'll call you Xin just like my elder sister do. Jiang Peihuan had noticed the change in Jiang Ruyun. In her previous life, Jiang Ruyun was confused for a long time. In this life, fortunately, everything was moving in a positive direction. Sister Jiang, one came today to bid you farewell. Are you going back to the mansion? Hearing Liu Xin's words, Jiang Peihuan's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Meeting Jiang Peihuan's eyes, Liu Xin smiled and said, "The wound on my leg has healed, and it's time to go back to the mansion. Have you told my elder brother about this?" Thinking of Jiang Changbua, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but speak, but Liu Xin's smile gained a trace of helplessness upon hearing that name. Looking at Jiang Peihuan, Liu Xin continued, "I won't go to see young Master Jiang. Sister Jiang, besides saying goodbye, one have a favor to ask of you." As she spoke, Liu Xin took a bundle from her maid's hand. Handing the bundle to Jiang Peihuan, Liu Xin spoke softly, "When one was injured, young Master Jiang tore a piece of his clothing to bandage my wound, so one made this for him to express my gratitude. Why don't you give it to him yourself? Sister Jiang, please help me." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Liu Xin smiled and didn't say anything. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan could only nod, taking the bundle. "All right, I'll give it to my elder brother for you." "Thank you, Sister Jiang. I'll take my leave now." With that, Liu Xin stood up. Watching her figure, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but speak. "Do you want me to send someone to escort you back to the mansion?" "No need, uncle has already arranged it." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan didn't say anything more. Jiang Ruyun, watching Liu Xin's departing figure, couldn't help but turn to Jiang Peihuan and say, "Elder sister, do you think Xin is in love with our elder brother?" "Don't gossip about a young lady's reputation," Jiang Peihuan cautioned, her voice gentle but firm. To anyone with eyes, Liu Xin's feelings were quite evident. But considering the reality of their situation, if Liu Xin truly wanted to marry Jiang Changbai, there were numerous challenges and obstacles that she would have to face. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Jiang Ruyun nodded, understanding her sister's point of view. Just as they were preparing to leave, the maid, Yu approached them again. "Eldest Miss, the eldest princess mansion has sent an invitation. They're inviting the young ladies to enjoy the flowers," she announced, holding the delicate invitation in her hands. "What a strange time for this," Jiang Ruyun exclaimed, unable to hide her surprise. "What flowers are there to enjoy now?" Hearing Yu's words, Jiang Peihuan remained silent, but her brow furrowed at this time. The eldest princess had invited the young ladies from various families to enjoy the flowers, but Jiang Peihuan felt something was off. Her unease wasn't resolved until she saw Lin Mengyaro beside the eldest princess, and the realization dawned. The event was set for the evening, but no one dared arrive late or just on time. Thus, by the afternoon, the place was bustling with guests. Since Jiang Xijin was in the military camp, only Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun from the Jiang family were present. Soon after settling down, Jiang Peihuan noticed Lin Mengyaro, who was supporting the eldest princess, walking towards her. Lin Mengyaro had become a favored guest at the eldest princess mansion ever since she saved Prince and there. Her astuteness, combined with the skill of reading people, had led the eldest princess to take special care of her. Just as it happened this time, Lin Mengyaro casually mentioned to the eldest princess that the capital hadn't hosted a ladies' banquet in a while, prompting the eldest princess to immediately send out invitations. "Yaro, you are so clever. These flowers are more lively when admired together," the eldest princess remarked as she approached, met with respectful bows from the crowd. Watching the vibrant scene unfold, she smiled and spoke to Lin Mengyaro. Hearing this, Lin Mengyaro softly laughed. "All the young ladies here are as beautiful as flowers, enhancing the scene. One believe, princess, seeing them will lift your mood." Her words deftly praised not only the eldest princess but also the young ladies in attendance. At first, the sight of Lin Mengyao's closeness with the eldest princess had excited the crowd, given that many of the young ladies present were of higher status. However, Lin Mengyao's graceful words tempered their jealousy, though some dissatisfaction lingered. Jiang Peihuan watched the proceedings with a calm detachment until a familiar voice captured her attention. "Imperial sister, why didn't you send me an invitation to the banquet?" Dressed in white and holding a folding fan, Xiao Nanyi walked over with Han Feng. Seeing Xiao Nanye, the eldest princess greeted him with a surprised but welcoming smile. "Who doesn't know that you are a very busy man?" "No matter how busy, I must attend Imperial sister's banquet," he replied, his eyes unconsciously drifting towards Jiang Peihuan. The room noticed, and all eyes turned to her, jealousy in their glances. Though many young ladies in the capital yearned to marry Xiao Nanye, his cold demeanor had kept them at bay. Yet, his newfound affection for someone was a pill they found hard to swallow. Imperial aunt, how could you not inform your nephews about such a fun event? More figures appeared, including Prince An, Prince Rui, and others. Jiang Peihuan also spotted Xiao Juanhao, looking uninjured and dashing in his black brocade robe. Her gaze shifted quickly, but Xiao Junhao's eyes lingered on her. Because of the banquet, Jiang Peihuan wore a light blue gown instead of her usual plain attire, rendering her exceptionally ethereal. Xiao Junhao's admiration was palpable, and he found it hard to tear his gaze away, only doing so at a cold warning glance from Xiao Nanyi. Observing the subtle exchange, the eldest princess smiled and commanded, "Enough, everyone take your seats." As everyone found their places, Xiao Nanye's voice rang out, "Huan come sit beside me." He spoke openly, and though Jiang Peihuan looked at him helplessly, he turned to a maid, ordering, "Prepare another chair." Yes. Even in the eldest princess mansion, the maid obeyed Xiao Nanye without question. "Eldest Miss Jiang, come here quickly," Prince An called, even shifting to make room as the maid brought the chair. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 167, Visiting the Eldest Princess Mansion. Upon seeing this, Jiang Ruyun reached out and tugged at Jiang Peihuan's sleeve, whispering, "Elder sister, you should go." Jiang Peihuan had no choice but to slowly walk towards Xiao Nanye. As she approached, the man quickly stood up, took her hand, and carefully pulled out a chair for her. Once Jiang Peihuan sat down, Xiao Nanye then sat in the chair beside her. Although it was a single table, it was quite large, so both Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanye could sit together without feeling crowded. "Your Highness, if we admire the flowers alone, it may be somewhat boring. Since all the young ladies here are talented, why not have them perform their skills one by one at their leisure?" Lin Mengyaro suggested to the eldest princess, and the young ladies from various families showed excited expressions. Facing the princes, they were very eager to show off their skills. The eldest princess saw the eagerness of the young ladies and nodded with a smile. "This is a good idea. Let's get someone to arrange it." The people invited in the eldest princess mansion were all well trained. Soon, the young ladies of each family drew their own numbers. There are 4 talents inside this brocade box: playing the zither, dancing, painting, and composing poetry. I'll draw a talent, then randomly draw a number, and the young lady who is chosen will have to perform that talent, explained Lin Mengyaro, as everyone agreed. At this moment, the eldest princess took off a jade pendant and placed it on the table. "Since it's a talent show, I will provide a prize. The best performer today will receive this jade pendant from me." Hearing the eldest princess' words, all the young ladies showed excited smiles. Even Jiang Ruyun's eyes sparkled with surprise. Among everyone, only Jiang Peihuan remained expressionless. Jiang Peihuan had seen such things countless times in her past life, so she had no interest in them now. However, the desserts in the eldest princess mansion were quite good. Jiang Peihuan quietly kept putting the desserts from the table into her mouth. Coming from a military family, she didn't care much about fine dining. As she ate the desserts on the table, Jiang Peihuan thought they were much tastier than those at the Jiang residence. Although her movements were quick and subtle, several people saw her. One of them was Xiao Nanye, who was sitting beside her, and the others were Xiao Juanhao and Lin Mengyao. "Do you like these desserts?" Xiao Nanye whispered in her ear. Jiang Peihuan, realizing that she had already finished a plate of desserts, and hearing the man's words, nodded, "These desserts taste good." As she spoke, she put the last piece of dessert into her mouth. "Who has number 17? Lin Mengyao's voice called out, but no one answered. When Jiang Peihuan looked up, she suddenly saw Lin Mengyao looking at her. Her eyes twinkled, and Jiang Peihuan picked up the paper she had casually put on the table. It was indeed number 17. Standing up, Jiang Peihuan said calmly, "Number 17 is me." Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, everyone turned to look at her, and a smile appeared in Lin Mengyao's eyes. "Miss Jiang, this round is a dance talent show. Do you know how to dance?" Although Lin Mengyao's smile was very gentle, Jiang Peihuan still caught a glimpse of mockery in her eyes. Miss Lin, everyone is aware that Miss Jiang excels in martial arts, but her talents don't extend to music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. To ask her to dance would be like setting an unreasonable challenge for her, someone in the crowd pointed out. That's what was drawn, so if it's something she can't do, she'll have to drink 3 cups as a penalty, Miss Lin responded firmly. A murmur of discussion spread among the crowd. Seeing the situation unfold, Jiang Ruyun promptly spoke up. My elder sister hasn't been feeling well lately. One will dance in her place. With those words, Jiang Ruyun stood up, a determined look in her eyes. A smile flickered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes as she watched her sister stand. But just after Jiang Ruyun stood up, a harsh voice rang out, objecting, Jiang Ruyun, this is merely a talent show. If Miss Jiang can't dance, she should simply take the penalty drink. You cannot substitute for her. Are you people from the Jiang family so scared of losing? The person who spoke was none other than Yang Xin. Hearing her words, anger flashed in Jiang Ruyun's eyes. Just as she was about to speak, Jiang Peihuan's voice was heard. When did one say I won't perform? Elder sister? Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, surprise appeared in Jiang Ruyun's eyes. Seeing her expression, Jiang Peihuan smiled lightly. The desserts are good, you can try them. Really? Jiang Ruyun unconsciously picked up a desserts from the table. After talking a bite, she realized that Jiang Peihuan had already stood up and walked to the center. Watching Jiang Peihuan approach, Lin Mengyao asked softly, Miss Jiang, are you preparing to perform a dance? Didn't Miss Lin draw a dance talent? As Lin Mengyao's words fell, Jiang Peihuan responded calmly. Lin Mengyao quickly nodded. Yes. Jiang Peihuan looked away from Lin Mengyao and turned to the eldest princess. Your Highness, one will perform the water sleeve dance, and I need to change my clothes and prepare some things. Yi Yun, take Miss Jiang to prepare. Yes, Your Highness. Miss Jiang, please come with me. The woman standing next to the eldest princess smiled at Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan left with Yi Yun, and everyone waited quietly. Half a cup of tea later, footsteps were heard. But the first to appear were not Jiang Peihuan, but a group of soldiers in armor, each holding a small hand drum. The soldiers walked to the center, forming a circle. At that moment, a cry of surprise was heard from the crowd. Following the sound, Jiang Peihuan's figure appeared before everyone. She was dressed in red and had no accessories on her. She only had long hair that was tied up casually with a red ribbon. But this appearance of Jiang Peihuan carried an inexplicable charm. Xiao Nanye sat up straight, noticing that several princes were staring at Jiang Peihuan. A chill appeared in his eyes. Eldest princess, 1 a.m. ready. Jiang Peihuan slowly walked into the circle of soldiers, and after bowing to the eldest princess, she spoke softly. Surprise also flashed in the eldest princess' eyes. Having watched emperors rise to power over many years and seen countless beauties, she had never seen a woman like Jiang Peihuan, beautiful without being aggressive, yet inherently captivating. At that moment, the eldest princess suddenly understood why Xiao Nanye had fallen for Jiang Peihuan. Since you are ready, let's begin. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 168, Jiang Peihuan dancing yes. Jiang Peihuan stood up, and with a single bound, she leaped. At this moment, 2 soldiers immediately stepped forward and raised the small hand drums they were holding. As Jiang Peihuan gently landed, her feet stepped directly onto the drum heads held by the soldiers. Everyone who saw this was completely astonished. Then, the soldiers who had previously formed a circle knelt on one knee and also raised their drum heads. Jiang Peihuan twirled and stood, and at the same time, she flung her long sleeves. As the water sleeves lashed out, they struck the drum heads perfectly. Throughout the performance, Jiang Peihuan's legs stood on the drum heads. Whether leaping or spinning, her feet never left the drums. And the water sleeves in Jiang Peihuan's hands constantly changed with her movements. Every time they were flung out, they would hit the drum heads. The entire banquet hall was dead silent, with only the sound of drums ringing out, playing a rhythm that sounded like a war song. Jiang Peihuan, standing on the drum heads, had a solemn look in her eyes, and there was also a touch of faint sadness. In her previous life, She indeed knew nothing of music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. However, after being with Xiao Juanhao, she had learned all of these diligently to win his favor. She was skilled with a whip, and since the water sleeves dance shared similarities with a whip, she learned this dance as well. The palm-sized drum heads, Jiang Peihuan stood firmly on them, continuously leaping, her figure as light as if she had no weight. Her water sleeves motions grew wider, and listening to the drumming, everyone felt their heartbeat quicken. Just when the crowd felt like their hearts would stop, the drum sound gradually softened. When the drumming stopped, all the soldiers rushed forward, some standing, some kneeling on one knee, arranging their drum heads into a staircase shape. Jiang Peihuan, standing at the very back, stepped down one by one, then gathered her water sleeves, and bowed to the princess. The eldest princess, stunned, looked at Jiang Peihuan in her red dress, her eyes expressing more than just astonishment. It took her a long time to react. The eldest princess finally picked up a jade pendant from the table. "Miss Jiang, your dance is truly unparalleled in the world." The eldest princess didn't even bother to watch the next performance and directly handed the jade pendant to Jiang Peihuan. Lin Mengyao, who was supposed to dance after Jiang Peihuan, looked on with a very unpleasant expression in her eyes. Hearing the eldest princess' words, Jiang Peihuan spoke softly, "Your Highness is too kind, thank you for your reward." She reached out and took the jade pendant from the eldest princess. "Please take your seat." "Thank you." Jiang Peihuan sat back down next to Xiao Nanya, and as soon as she sat down, the man immediately opened his cloak. Ignoring the surprise of the people around, the man personally tied the ribbon around her neck. As he was tying the ribbon, he whispered to her, "From now on, you can only dance this dance for me alone." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan unconsciously looked up, only to see the undisguised passion in the man's eyes. Seeing her staring at him in a daze, Xiao Nanya pinched her fingertips. "Did you hear me?" Everyone saw Xiao Nanya talking to Jiang Peihuan but couldn't hear what they were saying. Jiang Peihuan nodded helplessly. Seeing her nod, the man's expression softened. Soon, a small plate was brought to Jiang Peihuan. "You like the desserts, don't you?" Lowering her head, Jiang Peihuan found that the plate that she had emptied earlier was full again. "Yao ISNT, it's your turn to perform next." At this moment, the eldest princess smiled at Lin Mengyao. Lin Mengyao nodded reluctantly. Lin Mengyao's performance was also a dance, right after Jiang Peihuan's. Originally, she had arranged it this way to show everyone how much better she was than Jiang Peihuan. But now, thinking about Jiang Peihuan's dance, Lin Mengyao felt her steps heavier. But with everyone looking at her, Lin Mengyao still confidently walked to the center. Dressed in white, elegant in posture, all eyes fell on her. Fairly speaking, Lin Mengyao's dance was good, but with Jiang Peihuan's extraordinary performance preceding it, the audience's interest was somewhat lukewarm. During her dance, Lin Mengyao's eyes inadvertently looked towards Xiao Juanhao. But she was startled to find that his gaze was constantly directed behind her. As she was spinning, she realized that Jiang Peihuan was right behind her. Xiao Juanhao was looking at Jiang Peihuan. Coming to this conclusion, Lin Mengyao's eyes showed a touch of panic. With this panic, her foot slipped, and she fell to the ground. "Yao." Seeing Lin Mengyao on the ground, the eldest princess was momentarily stunned before she hurriedly said, "Yi Yun, call the doctor." "Ipper Highness, there's no need, I'm fine." Lying on the ground, Lin Mengyao heard the eldest princess' words and quickly spoke up. Biting her lip and getting up from the ground, Lin Mengyao said with a smile, "Your Highness, one am a doctor myself, one know my condition well, one really am fine." "If you're fine, that's good." Seeing Lin Mengyao's insistence, the eldest princess didn't say anything further. "Forgive me for causing a scene." Although she had fallen, Lin Mengyao's graceful composure still made some people in the crowd show a hint of approval. Quickly, Lin Mengyao returned to her seat, but she then raised her wine glass towards Jiang Peihuan. "Miss Jiang, you are truly talented and beautiful. I'm not your match. This glass of wine, I toast to you." Hearing Lin Yengyao's words, Jiang Peihuan furrowed her brow. At that moment, a maid came forward and poured a glass of wine for Jiang Peihuan. The eldest princess noticed this and looked over as well. In front of the eldest princess, Jiang Peihuan had no choice but to pick up the wine glass. As she did, she smelled it carefully. There was nothing wrong with the wine. Jiang Peihuan looked up and saw Lin Mengyao's smile, filled with hidden meaning. Could she be overthinking it? I'll drink first to show my respect. As Jiang Peihuan looked over, Lin Mengyao had already emptied the glass of wine. Seeing Lin Mengyao's overturned glass, Jiang Peihuan lowered her eyelids and picked up her glass. But just as she was about to drink, the wine glass was taken from her hand. I will drink this glass for her. It was Xiao Nanya. As he spoke, he had already drained the glass. Seeing Xiao Nanya's action, Lin Mengyao showed no surprise. Her smile, however, deepened. Looking at Xiao Nanya, she said with a smile, King Cheng, when drinking on behalf of someone else, you must drink 3 glasses. If that's the case, then I will drink 3 glasses. As he spoke, Xiao Nanya picked up the wine jug from the table. Seeing him take the jug, Lin Mengyao's eyes flickered. After Xiao Nanya had drunk 2 glasses in a row, Lin Mengyao poured herself another glass. King Cheng, your ability to drink is impressive. Mengyao admires you. As Xiao Nanya sat down, Jiang Peihuan immediately grabbed his pulse. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 169, Lin Mengyao was poisoned. There were no issues at all. However, a cry of surprise came from the eldest princess side. It turned out that Lin Mengyao, after drinking the wine she had poured herself, began to incessantly scratch her own arm and neck. Yao miss. No matter how the people around her call out, Lin Mengyao can't control herself. At this moment, Lin Mengyao's eyes are filled with terror. How could this be? This medicine was supposed to. She can't help but look towards Xiao Nanya, only to see disdain and mockery in the man's eyes. With just one glance at Lin Mengyao, who is being led away by the crowd, Jiang Peihuan knows that this is the poison of the 7-colored flower. The 7-colored flower is odorless and tasteless, but once a person is poisoned, they immediately start to itch. Then, they scratch their flesh until it rots and they die. After Lin Mengyao is taken away, Xiao Juanhao freezes. After a few seconds, he immediately leaves. The eldest princess also left. After such an incident, everyone starts to make their excuses to leave. At the last banquet, Princeton was poisoned, and this time it's Lin Mengyao. Everyone is now looking at the eldest princess with a hint of fear. They believe that unless it's necessary, people will be afraid to come to the princess mansion again. Elder sister? Jiang Ruyun walks to Jiang Peihuan's side, and seeing her, Jiang Peihuan whispers, let's talk about it when we get back. Jiang Ruyun nods and follows Jiang Peihuan out. Jiang Ruyun was about to get on the carriage, but she realized that Xiao Nanya was already one step ahead of her. Seeing this, she silently steps back down. You know about this. Looking at the man sitting across from her, Jiang Peihuan says in a low voice. It's a statement, not a question. Xiao Nanya, hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, also nods. From Xiao Nanya's account, Jiang Peihuan learns that today's banquet was a scheme by Xiao Juanhao. Initially, Jiang Peihuan thinks the banquet is aimed at her, but it's actually targeting Xiao Nanya. The wine that Lin Mengyao drinks was originally prepared for Xiao Nanya. But Xiao Nanya has been watching Xiao Juanhao all along, so he knows about it early. When the wine cup was sent to the princess mansion, Xiao Nanya had it sent to Lin Mengyao's table instead. As for why it wasn't sent to Xiao Junhao's table, it's simple, because Lin Mengyao knows how to cure the poison. But this time, Lin Mengyao herself is poisoned. Whether she can find someone to cure her will have to depend on fate. Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, Jiang Peihuan can't help but look at him and say, Miss Lin is after all a delicate lady, you seem to lack the slightest sympathy for women. In my eyes, only you are the beauty who needs my sympathy. Other people, in my eyes, have no gender. When the carriage arrives at the general's mansion, Xiao Nanya gets out. Looking at Jiang Peihuan, who lifts the curtain, the man lowers his voice and says, I will come to see you tomorrow. Jiang Peihuan only glares at him, not saying anything. Because Xiao Nanya was in the carriage, Jiang Ruyun has to sit outside. Seeing Xiao Juanhao get off the carriage, she quickly climbs into it. Jiang Ruyun hears the conversation between the two people in the carriage, thinks for a moment, and can't help but say to Jiang Peihuan, elder sister, one hope Prince Qing won't cause trouble for us because of this. Hearing Jiang Ruyun's words, Jiang Peihuan shakes her head, he probably won't. Even if Xiao Juanhao wanted to cause trouble for her, he wouldn't have the time right now. In fact, Jiang Peihuan was wrong this time. Prince Qing Mansion. Looking at Lin Mengyao, who was filled with agony, Xiao Juanhao glared at the doctor with fury. Can you cure her or not? Please forgive us, Prince Qing, but we are incapable of treating Miss Lin's poison. Upon hearing this, Xiao Juanhao wished he could kill these people, but considering his current situation, he held back his anger. Get out. Hearing this, the doctors quickly left the room. At this moment, Pei Wu suddenly stepped forward. Your Highness, perhaps you can let eldest Miss Jiang come and take a look at Miss Lin. Ha! According to our investigation, Miss Jiang is capable of medical treatment. The poison previously administered to Jiang Chongbai by Meng Yi was also cured by eldest Miss Jiang. Hearing this, Xiao Junhao's eyes displayed a mix of emotions. After thinking for a moment, he declared, let's go to the general's mansion. Xiao Juanhao didn't use the main entrance but directly climbed the wall to enter Jiang Peihuan's plum garden. When Xiao Juanhao entered Jiang Peihuan's room, she was already awake. Without any hesitation, she reached for her whip and lashed out at him. However, the intruder was prepared and caught her whip. Seeing Jiang Peihuan ready to fight, Xiao Juanhao immediately stated, I'm not here to fight with you today, one need your help. Prince Qing, I thought one made myself clear. I need you to save Yao Er. Your Highness must be joking. How could I possibly save Lin? Jiang Peihuan, stop pretending. Since I've come to find you today, I naturally know about your medical skills. I don't have time for your nonsense. If you can't save Yao Er today, I'll make Jiang Xijin accompany her in death. What have you done? Before Jiang Peihuan could finish, Xiao Juanhao interrupted her, and her eyes changed instantly upon hearing his threat. Seeing the gloom in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, Xiao Juanhao laughed. Jiang Xijin is training in the Western Hills today. It's a place where wild beasts roam. If anything unfortunate happened to Jiang Xijin, no one could be blamed. Although Jiang Peihuan wasn't sure whether Xiao Juanhao was telling the truth or not, she didn't dare risk Jiang Xijin's life. She glared at Xiao Juanhao and coldly said, fine, I'll go with you. An hour later Jiang Peihuan entered the Qing mansion. In her past life, she had been here many times, but in this life, it was her first visit. Entering the room, she detected a rotten odor. It was emanating from Lin Mengyao. Moving closer, Jiang Peihuan saw that Lin Mengyao's hands and feet were bound. There were several wounds on her body, all scratched out by herself. If she hadn't been tied up, Lin Mengyao would surely have injured herself further. Lin Mengyao's consciousness was somewhat muddled, but when she saw Jiang Peihuan, her eyes revealed a touch of resentment. Jiang Peihuan carefully observed Lin Mengyao's condition, then took out her silver needles. However, just as she was about to insert the needles, someone grabbed her wrist. What are you doing? Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Jiang Peihuan replied sarcastically, if your highness does not trust me, feel free to invite someone more competent. Xiao Junhao's eyes were filled with unhappiness, but he let go of her hand. Without saying anything, Jiang Peihuan quickly inserted the silver needle into Lin Mengyao's acupoints, and the writhing Lin Mengyao immediately calmed down. Once Lin Mengyao had calmed down, Jiang Peihuan turned to Xiao Juanhao and said, she has been poisoned with the 7-color flower. To cure her, we need white soul grass, sky mountain snow lotus seeds, get them prepared. Xiao Juanhao didn't question Jiang Peihuan's request for these herbs, he simply turned to Pei Wu and gave the order. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 170, Curing Lin Mengyao Alright. After hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Pei Wu quickly turned and left. Then Jiang Peihuan sat down on a nearby chair and casually sipped her tea. Jiang Peihuan didn't ask the maid for assistance, instead she picked up the teapot and poured herself a cup of tea, then elegantly sipped it while nibbling on some snacks from the table. Xiao Juanhao, sitting across from Jiang Peihuan, watched all of this with complex feelings. An hour later, Pei Wu entered the room. Your Highness, everything is prepared. Xiao Juanhao remained silent, but turned to look at Jiang Peihuan. Setting down her teacup, Jiang Peihuan spoke up. Where are the things? Take me to see them. Following Pei Wu outside, Jiang Peihuan looked surprised when she saw what the guards held. These medical herbs, many of which were extremely hard to find. She had thought that it would take Xiao Juanhao some time to gather them, but he managed to do it surprisingly quickly. Jiang Peihuan stepped forward, carefully examining the items in the guard's hands. There are no issues with these things. Get me a pot for decoction. One will start the preparation. Miss Jiang, you can tell the maid how to do it. The maid can't do it. Before Pei Wu could finish, Jiang Peihuan interrupted him coolly. Hearing this, Pei Wu subconsciously looked towards Xiao Juanhao. The always silent man spoke up in a low voice, do as she says. A moment later, someone brought a pot and medicine jar. Jiang Peihuan started to make a fire, processing the herbs while throwing them into the medicine jar. Seeing Xiao Juanhao standing nearby, Jiang Peihuan spoke up, this medicine will take 2 hours to prepare. Your Highness, will you wait here for an hour? You better not play any tricks. Don't forget, your sister's life is in my hands. With that, Xiao Juanhao turned and went back inside the room. At the sound of the door closing, a shadow passed over Jiang Peihuan's eyes. When no one was looking, Jiang Peihuan secretly pocketed some herbs. This was Xiao Junhao's mansion. She couldn't harm him or Lin Mengyao, but she could charge some consultation fee. Hours later, Jiang Peihuan walked into the room with a bowl of medicine. Handing the bowl to a maid, Jiang Peihuan spoke up, feed her the medicine. All right. Just as the maid was about to approach with the bowl, Xiao Junhao's voice stopped her. Wait. Hearing Xiao Juanhao, the maid immediately stopped. Taking the bowl from the maid, Xiao Juanhao passed it to Jiang Peihuan, you drink first. As he spoke, his eyes held undisguised suspicion. Seeing his expression, a mocking smile appeared in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. She looked at the man across from her and coldly said, Prince, this is your mansion. Do you think him foolish enough to harm someone you care about? Cut the crap. If you want to save Jiang Xijin's life, do as I say, he instructed. Upon hearing Jiang Xijin's name, Jiang Peihuan didn't say anything. She accepted the bowl from the man's hand and took a sip. After seeing her swallow, Xiao Juanhao handed the medicine to the maid. The maid carefully fed the medicine to Lin Mengyao. After taking the medicine, Lin Mengyao's face noticeably improved. She will be fine by tomorrow morning. I'll take my leave now. Seeing this scene, Jiang Peihuan spoke directly. But as soon as she said that, Xiao Juanhao immediately interrupted, No. Prince Qing, you threatened me with my sister's life to save her. I've done what you asked. What more do you want? Jiang Peihuan, you know very well what one want, don't you? Xiao Juanhao responded after a brief silence, his eyes smoldering with intense purpose. Feeling disgusted and annoyed by his gaze, Jiang Peihuan reached for the whip at her waist, pondering whether to react. Suddenly, an enraged voice resonated from outside, Your Highness King Cheng, you're at Prince Qing's mansion. Tell Xiao Juanhao to get out here. The familiar male voice echoed within the room, turning Xiao Junhao's face ugly, while Jiang Peihuan looked surprised. With a gloomy expression, Xiao Juanhao opened the door. Upon witnessing this, Jiang Peihuan also ventured outside. Corner. When Xiao Nanya saw Jiang Peihuan, his stern look instantly softened. She quickly approached him. Standing beside the man, she questioned in a soft voice, Why are you here? I heard from Yi Xiao that you were not in your room, so one came. As the two spoke, they seemed to ignore the presence of others. Xiao Juanhao, who already had an unpleasant look, seemed even more displeased. With a cold stare at the man in front of him, he said in a low voice, Imperial Uncle, it's inappropriate for you to barge into my backyard in the middle of the night. Is it appropriate for you to take your future Imperial aunt away in the middle of the night? At these words, Xiao Juanhao clenched his fist tightly. The title Imperial Aunt particularly stung his ears. Xiao Nanya, however, was not willing to pay Xiao Juanhao any more attention. He turned to Jiang Peihuan and said, "Let's go." She nodded and left with him. Seeing this, Pei Wu clenched his sword tightly. Han Feng, who stood by Xiao Nanye, smirked at him. "You can't even beat me, better not embarrass yourself in front of my master." Fuming, Pei Wu could not find words to rebut, knowing his skills were indeed inferior to Han Feng's. Xiao Nanye held Jian Peihuan's hand and swaggered out of the Prince Qing mansion. No one dared to stop him. Looking at their backs as they left, Xiao Junhao's palms oozed a trace of blood. Smelling the blood, Pei Wu noticed the droplets of blood on his hand. "Your Highness, you're hurt. I'll call the doctor." "No need," Xiao Juanhao said coldly, then turned around and entered his room. After leaving the Prince Qing mansion, Jiang Peihuan got into Xiao Nanye's carriage. The carriage was prepared as it was late. The interior was layered with thick blankets, providing a comfortable seat. "How did you know I was at the Prince Qing's mansion?" Although Xiao Nanye had said that Yi Xiao told him she was not in her room, she didn't believe that this information alone could have led him to Xiao Juanhao. He reached out and poured her a cup of tea. After she took the cup, Xiao Nanye said calmly, "That poison was originally prepared for me." Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 171, Jiang Xijin in danger. Hernge than Sam words, Gina Suane Eezy W a knit for Swaknfo. However, after a few seconds, Jiang Peihuan understood. Following a brief silence, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but look at Xiao Nanye and ask, "Why didn't you just exchange the medicine with Prince Qing? If ORX Juohan da ni bht 1 nuides yard otes ulode have defalinit rogin h." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Xiao Nanye softly said, "If Xiao Juanhao really had been poisoned today, it would have caused a lot of trouble if word reached my imperial brother. But, if something like this happens again, we can try Sahi Psk Eo Erit saw a hint of Resensweois Nishs. Iarni Ors Jigna Seahan Asai Ozdwaya Tuchk for Klseeps. Nes Master, are we going back to the general's mansion now?" At this time, Han Feng's voice came from outside the carriage. Thinking of Xiao Junhao's cunning, Jiang Peihuan directly said, "No, first to the military camp outside the city." Shearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, Han Feng didn't need to ask his master and directly complied. Facing Xiao Nanye's puzzled look, Jiang Peihuan softly said, "I'm worried that Xiao Juanhao might target Xijin. She's training in the secret forest by the military camp today. Sni Ruoi Ryada Slet Go Keet A. Look an hour later, the carriage arrived at the secret forest near the military camp. When Jiang Peihuan arrived, she saw a pair of female soldiers, led by the Deputy General of the Feather Army, Wang Ying. GWN Igni, Osor Walsile Tar Zu Isen Sidi on the Tatel Bidful New of Ajnig Piansahar Intet. 2 Janaeus Ngaij Hai Anu Pshi Emdaltia U Tedsla St Edelmis. Deputy General Wang, please rise. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan nodded. There your Amin Elpio Dawn, but Nij Puhanei did Tun Si Jinga EGSSN Garif. As looked a tar nor igni nad asdk, rcwhsi? Nji others did not know Jiang Xijin's identity, but Wang Ying did. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, she lowered her voice and said, "The third miss is still in the forest." She, Larinji Tesa El Bito Eru. Before Wang Ying could finish her sentence, a female soldier rode up, panic in her eyes. Hearing her shout, Jiang Peihuan's heart skipped a beat. St. Wara Heapton. P. Jiang Xijin's horse got scared. She's gone into the deep forest. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's face changed. Looking at Etam Bides, Ray Jiangan Pihu Elitic Asdi, Iaxoan Nyamel Nyog to find Sai. Jin'll go with you. Without hesitation, the man immediately spoke. Regahinit, S. Nagij Orni Iph didont re Sifu but Siample Dd Dun Nt, he the two for the Modnetmu Etri. Horus at this moment, Wang Ying noticed Xiao Nanye standing next to Jiang Peihuan. Seeing his appearance, a look of surprise appeared in Wang Ying's eyes. Hurry, help search for her. Nagij Hyanu P and Aoex Na Dreo Hyartst into HETPT, Fisa TL Swatisif Kalb Iidens the Forays, NAD it saw Pmybisosel to Eseth Wire. Ingan APU was in Gofwheel Emo's Karts Otiv Froa. DW. After a while, Jiang Peihuan was deep inside the forest, but she still did not see Jiang Xijin. Suddenly, she heard a tiger roar. Hearing this sound, Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanya looked at each other. Hitai Dilup Hiternsi and Ohe Dewasat et Dosnu of the roarer. After a run that felt as long as it takes to brew a pot of tea, Jiang Peihuan finally saw Jiang Xijin. But the scene before her made Jiang Peihuan's face change. Jiang Xijin and a female soldier were on the back of a horse, sharing a ride. But a white tiger was about to catch up with them, thanks to the horse, named Lightning, being Jiang Xijin's mount. Enlithnig saw et orshat njag noh ard hogabut cab morph the rfr. Noyatiakesen Jiang hse puina soa swa eldkla lai efng gijania sinji named Ray Nwosoa Jingtel. If it was an ordinary horse carrying two people, it would have been caught by the white tiger by now. But Lightning was a swift horse and was running very fast. However, Lightning was clearly exhausted. Just as Lightning was about to be caught, the female soldier on the horse suddenly grabbed Jiang Xijin's hand and kicked her off the horse. A W thigh tig AWS trinialg. The mupno NTSI high ST ajgin usian par face ilfda WH. NCNOEka. The distance between Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin was too great for her to offer assistance. All she could do was draw her long whip. With a flick of her wrist, she sent it sailing towards the white tiger. Xijin, move away, she shouted. Caught off guard, Jiang Xijin fell from the horse, her eyes wide with fear. But upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, a smile broke through her trepidation. Ladre ts. Israel. As she voiced the words, she noticed the gaping jaws of the white tiger. Close by was a dense thicket of bushes. Just as she considered tumbling into them for cover, her wrist was abruptly seized. It was Xiao Nanya, who had just let go of the reins. With a light touch of his toes against the horse's flank, he propelled himself forward and latched onto Jiang Xijin's wrist. He nhte hodsit Ray akbunt si. Rosso. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan breathed a sigh of relief. However, the white tiger, enraged by the lash of the whip, turned and launched itself at Jiang Peihuan. Sigain Sthi both Nigen Siege and Shioa Nyne Lodeco Di Huan elder sister. As yet Kalal Uto Wem Lilstansori Xiao Yanin Hayden the Insra ot Agng Nigs DNA Istrunts Jalutki o Uyog Fur. Ts. With that, he dismounted and landed on Jiang Peihuan's horse. Just then, the white tiger pounced, but the horse, sensing impending danger, reared up. The tiger's jaws clamped onto the horse's neck, ending its life instantly. Aox Ninari led Noto Ianj Finju DL Niga Yotumhols on Hitaren. Guad. With the horse now dead, the tiger turned its glare onto Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanya. Sitting on the horse, Jiang Xijin gripped the reins, her eyes filled with worry as she surveyed the unfolding scene. She yearned to charge forward but was halted by Jiang Peihuan's stern command, "Don't come over." Ilrid, Thesis. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Jiang Xijin's eyes turned a fiery red. However, Jiang Peihuan ignored her, opting to ready her whip instead. Izao Nanya Dut Sedai Benjia Heinpao IHS Gaze DFX on Etegi. RTAL Kasor K, Ermred Chi Satseb Ruff Ist Q Ukasixit. EU Caudal Nixit NAD Isfarona Ikrel and Seep Roff Oyu. UNW Leife Idko N either. Rutin. The white tiger opened its jaws and released a thunderous roar as if it comprehended Xiao Nanya's words. The entire mountain seemed to tremble. That's perfect, one like this color, Jiang Peihuan replied with a smile. As Ray ords he F Xiao Nien Epida Orf. Dorinet KLBNI of an Yi EHWD a Knoll sword and Dunplugit Otni the Tway tigers Yi. In an instant, the white tiger let out a piercing roar. But Xiao Nanya wasn't finished. Extracting his sword, he landed a heavy blow on the tiger's neck. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 172. Saving people. The white tiger collapsed to the ground instantly. Xiao Nanya, demonstrating his swift reflexes, drew a dagger and drove it directly into the white tiger's neck. Jiang Peihuan, holding her long whip tightly, didn't have time to react. The tiger was already dead. The two Jiang sisters stared in surprise at this scene, particularly Jiang Xijin, who had approached Jiang Peihuan. Her eyes widened as she exclaimed, "Elder sister, my future brother-in-law is incredibly powerful." Hearing the term brother-in-law, Xiao Nanye, who was glancing in their direction, was filled with delight. He conveniently disregarded the future part. Looking at Jiang Xijin, Xiao Nanye chuckled softly, "This tiger's fur is quite plentiful. I'm considering making a scarf and a cloak for your elder sister. There should be some left over. I'll have someone make you a scarf and boots too." Upon hearing this, joy lit up Jiang Xijin's eyes. Looking at Xiao Nanye, she hurriedly asked, "Really? Millimeter?" Seeing Xiao Nanye nod, Jiang Xijin laughed lightly. Then, "Thank you, brother-in-law." "Xijin, don't shout nonsense." Upon hearing Jiang Xijin address Xiao Nanye as her brother-in-law, Jiang Peihuan quickly intervened. Jiang Xijin stuck her tongue out but stayed silent. Won over by Jiang Xijin's charm, Xiao Nanye quickly spoke, "There are many dangerous beasts in these mountains, let's leave first." "All right, but what about this white tiger?" "Miss, leave the white tiger to me." At this moment, Han Feng rode in on a horse. Spotting the white tiger on the ground, his eyes lit up. He knew the tiger's skin was beyond his reach, but this white tiger was a treasure in its entirety. Who was that person on the back of Lightning? On their way back, Jiang Peihuan remembered the person who had kicked Jiang Xijin off of Lightning. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan bring this up, a hint of anger flashed in Jiang Xijin's eyes. "Her name is Wang Ya. If it wasn't for her, one wouldn't have encountered that white tiger today." From Jiang Xijin's explanation, Jiang Peihuan finally understood what had transpired. The military training camp primarily consisted of mountain hiking and the collection of related tokens as a symbol of victory. It was a method to exercise both physical and mental strength. To avoid mishaps, they typically paired up, but were scored individually. Wang Ya was originally the most outstanding woman among the female soldiers, but after Jiang Xijin arrived, she took that position. This, along with the fact that Jiang Xijin was several years younger, filled her with resentment. During today's training, she even ignored Jiang Xijin's warnings in her pursuit of a higher score, venturing deep into the forest. "Elder sister, you don't know. That white tiger was initially chasing Wang Ya. One couldn't just stand by and watch her get mauled, so one intervened. But after saving her, she tried to kill me. By the end, Jiang Xijin's eyes were ablaze with fury. Don't worry, we'll settle this score later." Initially, Jiang Peihuan thought that Wang Ya was someone placed by Xiao Juanhao. But from her conversation with Jiang Xijin, she learned that Wang Ya was actually Wang Ying's niece. When Wang Ying saw her niece ride out on Jiang Xijin's horse, she was simultaneously shocked and relieved. Relieved because her niece was safe, but shocked as Jiang Xijin might be in grave danger. "You're saying Jiang Xijin encountered a white tiger?" "Yes. I wanted to save her, but it was too late." Nonsense." Jiang Xijin, who was approaching with Jiang Peihuan, yelled furiously when she heard this. Hearing the outcry, everyone instinctively turned their gaze in that direction. "Jiang Xijin, you're all right, that's wonderful." Many of these female soldiers had a close relationship with Jiang Xijin. Considering her young age, many of them viewed her as a younger sister. When they saw her return unharmed, their eyes brimmed with surprise and joy. But this did not include Wang Ya. Upon seeing Jiang Xijin return safely, Wang Ya's eyes filled with confusion and fear. You, how is this possible? Oh, are you disappointed that one didn't die?" Jiang Xijin spoke coldly, walking up to Wang Ya. On the side, Wang Ying watched the scene with a hint of confusion in her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, she heard her niece's shriek. It turned out that Jiang Xijin had drawn her red whip, knocking Wang Ya off from the back of Lightning. Although Wang Ya was also trained in martial arts, she was average at best, and no match for Jiang Xijin. Upon seeing Jiang Xijin, Lightning approached and nuzzled its head against her. Observing this, Jiang Xijin patted its head, smiling. "Lightning, I'm fine now." "Jiang Xijin, how could you hit someone?" At this moment, a female soldier who was close to Wang Ya looked at Jiang Xijin with anger in her eyes. Hearing this, Jiang Xijin responded sternly, Wang Wei wanted to kill me. Am I not allowed to defend myself? What did you say? You're making things up, I didn't. Instinctively looking at her aunt Wang Ying, Wang Wei hurriedly denied the accusations when she saw the serious look on her aunt's face. However, Jiang Xijin's anger intensified when she heard Wang Ya's denial. Wang Wei, you're a soldier, aren't you? Do you dare to deny your actions? I didn't do it, so one didn't. Why would one admit to something one didn't? Before Wang Wei could finish her words, a long sword swung past her eyes. She instinctively looked down, only to find her beautiful hair cut off completely. The one holding the sword was none other than Xiao Nanye. Considering Wang Ying, Jiang Peihuan held herself back from reacting. But Xiao Nanye, who was protective by nature, pulled out his sword instantly upon hearing Wang Ya's words. Now, his sword rested at Wang Ya's throat. If you deny it again, I will kill you. I saw you kick Xijin off the horse with my own eyes. Please forgive her, Your Highness King Cheng. Upon seeing the murderous intent in Xiao Nanye's eyes, Wang Ying quickly knelt down to plead for mercy. Seeing Wang Ying on her knees, Xiao Nanye spoke calmly. I heard you are also part of the Flying Feather Army, serving under First Madame Jiang? Yes. Since you serve First Madame Jiang, you should act with fairness and justice. Or are you planning to shield your niece? I dare not. Xiao Nanye's voice was soft, but every word felt like a slap on Wang Ying's face, causing her to break into a sweat. Hearing Wang Ying's reply, Xiao Nanye nodded, good that you dare not. The military has a law, those who plot to kill others will be executed. Xijin saved Wang Wei out of goodwill. But Wang Wei, instead of being grateful, kicked Xijin off the horse in the face of danger. This is tantamount to attempted murder. Deputy General Wang, how do you intend to deal with Wang Wei? At this point, everyone had figured out Xiao Nanye's identity. Hearing his words, they all looked at Wang Wei with scorn. Under everyone's contemptuous gazes, Wang Wei was filled with anger, her eyes fixated on Jiang Xijin. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 173, Teaching Wang Wei a Lesson. Your Highness, King Cheng, this matter is indeed Wang Ya's fault. I didn't do anything wrong. Wang Wei, who was staring at Jiang Xijin, interrupted her aunt before she could finish. With her eyes full of hatred for Jiang Xijin, Wang Wei said coldly, the one who is wrong is not me, it's Jiang Xijin. You were the one who wanted to kill me. Why am I at fault? Upon hearing these words, Jiang Xijin looked at Wang Wei, her eyes filled with confusion. But Wang Ya's eyes were full of ridicule and disdain. Looking at Jiang Xijin, she said coldly, I have been in the army for years, and you've just arrived a few months ago. Yet, you took away everything that was originally mine. Why? Just because you are the third young lady of the general's mansion, and because your mother is the leader of the Flying Feather Army? Jiang Xijin, how am I worse than you? What right do you have to take everything from me? By the end of her statement, Wang Ya's eyes were full of tears. The soldiers who initially looked at her with contempt, their expressions changed significantly after hearing her words. However, Jiang Peihuan sneered. Hearing her laughter, everyone turned to look at her, but Jiang Peihuan only had eyes for Wang Wei. Taking a step forward and stopping within a step of Wang Wei, Jiang Peihuan said, You wanted to kill my sister. Is it really because she took everything that belonged to you, or because you are jealous? I don't know what you're talking about. Do you really not know what I am talking about? Before Wang Wei could say anything, Jiang Peihuan continued, You've been in the army for many years, Wang Ying is your aunt, I assume she has devoted all her effort to you. But from what I can see, your martial arts skills are average, and your strategy, given your intellect, must be mediocre too. In the army, strength is king. There are more types of strength, martial arts and strategy. You don't have either, yet you aspire to sit on the throne. You are not upset because Xijin took everything from you, but because you're jealous. You are jealous of my sister's status as the third young lady of the general's mansion, her martial arts talent, and her strategic mind in military matters. I'm not. With each sentence from Jiang Peihuan, Wang Ya's face became more sullen. At the end, She couldn't hold back any longer. She yelled at Jiang Peihuan, her eyes full of tears. Seeing Wang Yue like this, Jiang Peihuan suddenly laughed. Looking at Wang Yue, she spoke softly, "Since you say you're not, I'll give you a chance. I won't use a weapon, and I'll let you use one hand. If you can beat me, I'll ask Si Jin to drop this matter today. How about that? Don't be arrogant. Enough talk, this is your only chance. Do you want it? Can I use a weapon? Yes. You'll fight with one hand? Yes. If I hurt you, don't worry, if you can hurt me, that would be your own skill." Upon hearing this, Wang Yue couldn't resist any longer. She drew her sword and lunged at Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan sidestepped to avoid her. The crowd, seeing the two starting to fight, instinctively made room for them. Xiao Nanya, observing this scene, showed a faint smile. Jiang Xijin knew that her elder sister was skilled, but she couldn't help but show some worry. Wang Yue, wielding a sword, stood against Jiang Peihuan, who was unarmed with one hand held behind her back. Nevertheless, Jiang Peihuan managed to kick Wang Yue to the ground. Wang Yue slid 2 meters across the ground before coughing up blood. Yet, she picked up her long sword and charged again. Upon seeing her determination, a flash of surprise appeared in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. The outcome was the same each time. After the third round, when Jiang Peihuan kicked Wang Yue to the ground, Wang Yue could no longer get up. Wang Yue glared at Jiang Peihuan, full of resentment. The hatred that had once been directed towards Jiang Xijin was now targeted at Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan walked over to Wang Yue and crouched beside her. Gazing at the woman lying on the ground, she spoke calmly, "I bet you're thinking that if you had someone to guide you like I did, you would be better than me." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Wang Ya's eyes widened in surprise. Jiang Peihuan continued, "In this world, talent is important, but so is hard work. My sister, Jiang Xijin, and I started training every day since we were 3, no matter how cold or hot it was, we never stopped. Besides martial arts, as daughters of a general, we had much more to learn. Meanwhile, all you had to learn in the military camp were martial arts and strategy. If you're not talented, you can still work hard. The most useless people in this world are those who lack talent, don't work hard, and still think highly of themselves." After saying this, Jiang Peihuan stood up. She didn't glance at Wang Yue again but turned to Jiang Xijin, "As your elder sister, I'll let you handle this matter. Whatever you decide, I'll respect your choice." "Elder sister? Eldest miss?" Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Wang Ying, who was standing nearby, looked anxious. She wanted to say something but hesitated. Jiang Xijin, upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, seemed confused. She was angry with Wang Yue, but only that. After a while, Jiang Xijin said to Jiang Peihuan, "Elder sister, no matter what decision I make, you'll agree with it. MHM. Then, let's put an end to today's matter." As soon as Jiang Peihuan nodded, Jiang Xijin announced her decision. Hearing this, everyone except Jiang Peihuan looked surprised, especially Wang Yue, who was lying on the ground. She had already resigned herself to death. Jiang Peihuan didn't say much, only turned to Jiang Xijin, "You've made your decision?" "Yes, I have. Deputy General Wang, let's put today's matter to rest." "Thank you, miss. I will discipline Wang Yue strictly in the future." Gratitude filled Wang Ying's eyes, but Wang Yue, full of rage, glared at Jiang Xijin, "Don't think that just because you spared me, I'll be grateful to you. I don't need your gratitude." Before Wang Yue could finish her sentence, Jiang Xijin interrupted her, her gaze steady. She said softly, "I spared you because we are both soldiers. But in the future, if you harm anyone again, I will kill you." After speaking, Jiang Xijin turned away from Wang Yue and looked at Jiang Peihuan, "Elder sister, I haven't been home for a long time. How about we go back and stay for a few days?" There were holidays in the military, but Jiang Xijin had never taken one because she was always training. After seeing Jiang Peihuan's nod, the young girl happily climbed into the carriage. Jiang Peihuan glanced at Wang Ying and also got into the carriage. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 174, King Chujiang Rebellion. Following them, Xiao Nanya also entered the carriage. As soon as the carriage started to move, Jiang Xijin leaned against Jiang Peihuan, incessantly complaining that Wang Yue is truly irritating. Then why did you let her go earlier? Elder sister, you've already taught her a valuable lesson. Let's just leave it at that. Remember, she is Deputy General Wang's niece. Deputy General Wang has been a faithful companion to our mother for countless years. We should respect her long-standing service to our mother. I didn't expect you to show such growth in just over a month. Upon hearing Jiang Xijin's words, a smile appeared in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. If this were the old Jiang Xijin, she wouldn't have thought so deeply, nor would she have been so considerate. The carriage became quiet. Looking down, Jiang Peihuan saw that Jiang Xijin had closed her eyes. Not long after, the sound of her steady breathing reached her ears. I didn't think you sisters were alike before, but now I find that your personalities are very similar. Sitting opposite Jiang Peihuan, Xiao Nanya glanced at the sleeping Jiang Xijin and spoke with a smile. Hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan stroked Jiang Xijin's hair, then softly said, "When Xijin was born, our family was already affluent, but our parents didn't have much time to care for her. She essentially grew up following me. In the past, I only hoped that she could live peacefully in this life. But this is her life after all, and she should make her own choices. In her previous life, due to her actions, the entire Jiang family was exterminated, and Jiang Xijin met a tragic end. After her rebirth, she always hoped that Jiang Xijin could be a bit more defiant, but she forgot that Jiang Xijin, like her, was also very stubborn and resilient." The carriage leisurely headed towards the general's mansion. When the carriage stopped, Jiang Xijin opened her eyes. "Did you wake up?" Helping her to brush her long hair behind her ear, Jiang Peihuan spoke softly. Rubbing her eyes, Jiang Xijin nodded. When she turned her head, Jiang Xijin saw Xiao Nanya and unconsciously lowered her hand. "Is King Cheng still here? I prefer it when you call me brother-in-law." Upon hearing this, Jiang Xijin instinctively looked at Jiang Peihuan. Seeing Jiang Peihuan glaring at Xiao Nanya, she hastily opened the curtain. "Elder sister, I'm tired, I'm going in first." After saying that, Jiang Xijin rushed inside, leaving only Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nanya in the carriage. After contemplating for a moment, Jiang Peihuan looked at the man opposite her and took the initiative to say, "It's getting late, one should head home, and you should go back soon too." With that, she prepared to leave the carriage, but her wrist was grabbed. Before Jiang Peihuan could react, she found herself sitting in Xiao Nanya's lap. When Xiao Nanya held her, Jiang Peihuan instinctively wanted to struggle, but heard the man's low voice, "Don't move." Hearing his voice, Jiang Peihuan involuntarily stopped struggling. Xiao Nanya rested his head on Jiang Peihuan's shoulder. However, the sound of hooves interrupted their moment, followed by a deep voice announcing, "Master, King Chujiang has staged a rebellion." Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan instantly sat upright from Xiao Nanya's arms. Simultaneously, Xiao Nanya drew back the carriage curtain. A secret guard stood outside, attired similarly to Han Feng. Seeing the curtain part, he repeated his news, "Master, the news has already reached the palace. The emperor has dispatched a messenger to the mansion, summoning you to the palace." "I understand." Upon hearing this, Xiao Nanya's face also changed. He glanced at Jiang Peihuan, only to find her eyes filled with shock. Assuming that Jiang Peihuan was frightened, Xiao Nanya reassured her gently, "It's all right, don't worry. Return home first. I must make a trip to the palace." Jiang Peihuan nodded and disembarked from the carriage. As she watched Xiao Nanya's carriage depart, Jiang Peihuan's expression immediately shifted. In her previous life, there was no rebellion by King Chujiang. Could it be due to her presence that this life is diverging from her past one? Jiang Peihuan's eyes were full of worry and agitation. She hastily entered the mansion, where she found the rest of the Jiang family assembled. For Jiang Hong had also received the news of King Chujiang's rebellion. In the main hall, "Father, mother." On seeing Jiang Peihuan, Jiang Hong and his wife gave a nod. Noticing her anxious face, they assumed she had learned about King Chujiang's rebellion. Witnessing Jiang Hong's concerned face, Jiang Peihuan couldn't resist asking, "Father, what exactly happened with King Chujiang's rebellion?" 4 years, King Chujiang has been gradually expanding his territorial reach. At first, the emperor ignored it, but as King Chujiang's actions grew bolder, the emperor sent King Cheng to investigate. King Chujiang has long harbored rebellious intentions. This move by the emperor sparked off the rebellion. Hearing this, worry filled Jiang Peihuan's face. She looked at Jiang Hong and continued, "Father, what is the emperor's stance on this? The war in the Qi kingdom just ended, and the national treasury is exhausted. Naturally, the emperor would prefer to avoid another conflict." While Jiang Hong's words were tactful, Jiang Peihuan understood the implication. Emperor Qiming desired peace. Contemplating this, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but frown. Emperor Qiming had been a warrior in his youth, but after a few years on the throne, he became increasingly peace-loving. However, thinking of Xiao Nanye, Jiang Peihuan's furrowed brows relaxed a bit. That man would certainly not seek peace. Inside the imperial palace. "Imperial brother, I volunteer to lead the troops and bring King Chujiang's head to you." Xiao Nanye had just entered the Qianqing palace and immediately addressed Emperor Qiming on the throne. Hearing this, Emperor Qiming's heart skipped a beat. Looking at Xiao Nanye, he couldn't help but say, "The war just ended. If we mobilize now, we will face a severe shortage of provisions. Imperial brother, no matter how scarce the supplies, this battle must be fought. King Chujiang has already rebelled. If we do not react, other territorial kings might follow, the consequences of which are unimaginable." This, Emperor Qiming had no desire for war, but upon hearing Xiao Nanye's statement, his eyes revealed some conflict. At that moment, a gentle voice sounded, "Father, I think we should carefully consider this matter." Seeing Emperor Qiming's furrowed brows, Xiao Juanhao stepped forward and softly spoke. On receiving the news of King Chujiang's rebellion, Emperor Qiming had all the princes enter the palace. Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Emperor Qiming nodded, "You make a good point. Is Prince Qing's idea of long-term planning to seek peace?" Just as Emperor Qiming finished speaking, Xiao Nanye turned to Xiao Juanhao. As he spoke, a hint of mockery filled Xiao Nanye's eyes. Seeing this, Xiao Juanhao clenched his fist tightly. After a moment, he finally spoke in a low voice, "Whether to fight or seek peace, both require long-term planning. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 175, Lin Mengyao's Plan. Your Majesty, one believe Prince Qing makes a valid point. This matter is grave, and we should deliberate thoroughly." Lin Ruhai quickly interjected, noting Xiao Nanye's aggressive posture. Before he could complete his thought, Xiao Nanye scoffed, "General Lin, despite inheriting your title from your elder brother and hailing from a military lineage, where is your warrior's spirit?" Unease clouded Lin Ruhai's eyes at the taunt. Emperor Qiming, who was sitting on the dragon throne, tired of the argument, glanced outside and declared, "Enough. It's getting late. We'll continue tomorrow. Everyone, go home." Then, everyone left the palace. Outside the palace gates, Lin Ruhai approached Xiao Juanhao. After offering a respectful bow, he said softly, "Your Highness, how is Yarrow? Lord Lin, don't worry. The poison in Yarrow's body has been cured," Xiao Juanhao reassured. "That's good." Knowing that Lin Mengyaro was fine, Lin Ruhai couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Mindful of Emperor Qiming's preference for distance between the prince and officials, Xiao Juanhao exchanged brief pleasantries before boarding his carriage. Upon reaching the Qing mansion's entrance, news reached Xiao Juanhao that Lin Mengyaro had regained consciousness. Dawn was breaking, and without hesitation, he hastened to her chambers. Feeling disoriented, Lin Mengyaro tried to rise and bow upon seeing Xiao Juanhao. However, he quickly interjected, "Rest. No need for formalities in your state." She settled back onto the bed. Xiao Juanhao sat beside her, his expression filled with concern. "Are you still feeling unwell? I apologize for worrying you, Your Highness." "Yarrow is fine now," she assured him. "That's a relief." She could sense his unease. "Your Highness, is something troubling you?" From the moment he entered the room, Lin Mengyao noticed a shift in his demeanor. Though his tone remained gentle, his eyes held a trace of frustration. King Chujiang has rebelled, he revealed. Given Lin Mengyao's unique abilities, Xiao Juanhao was often candid with her about courtly affairs. Thus, upon her inquiry, Xiao Juanhao briefly told her what happened in the Palace of Heavenly Purity. Lin Mengyao listened quietly as Xiao Juanhao spoke. After Xiao Juanhao finished speaking, Lin Mengyao said in a low voice, "Your Highness, this could be an opportunity for you." His eyes flashed with uncertainty at her suggestion. Holding his gaze, she continued in an even softer tone, "Your Highness, you and King Cheng have never seen eye to eye. Given the circumstances, why not use this chance to get rid of King Cheng? It's said that the battlefield is unpredictable. One believe King Chujiang is no ordinary adversary." Although Lin Mengyao's voice was very soft, Xiao Juanhao still heard every word. When he thought of how Xiao Nanya had mocked him at the Palace of Heavenly Purity today, his eyes darkened. After pondering for a while, a decision seemingly made, he smiled warmly at Lin Mengyao. "Yaro I am truly fortunate to have you by my side. Get well quickly. Once you're healed, one will ask father to bestow a marriage." "I understand, Your Highness." Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Lin Mengyao's eyes revealed a hint of shyness, but she still nodded. The day was already brightening outside. Xiao Junhao's eyes looked heavy with exhaustion. Seeing his weariness, Lin Mengyao quickly said, "Your Highness, you seem weary. Perhaps you should return and rest." Acknowledging his fatigue and heeding Lin Mengyao's advice, Xiao Juanhao simply nodded and departed. After he left, Lin Mengyao turned to her maid and inquired, "Who helped me cure the poison in my body?" The maid, upon hearing Lin Mengyao's query, approached and whispered, "Miss, it was the eldest daughter of the Jiang family who cured you." "Who?" "The eldest young miss from the Jiang family." Lin Mengyao's eyes widened in astonishment upon hearing this. The very poison, crafted from the 7-colored flower and formulated by her master, was initially intended for Xiao Nanya. She had assumed her master had returned to treat her. Never had she imagined that her savior was Jian Peihuan. Clutching the blanket next to her, a myriad of emotions flitted across Lin Mengyao's eyes. As for courtly affairs, Jian Peihuan was blissfully unaware. As dawn broke, Jiang Xijin pushed open the door to Jiang Peihuan's room. Observing her elder sister, who had just awakened, Jiang Xijin suggested gently, "Elder sister, let's go to the city today and stroll around. I've been in the military camp all month, and one haven't been out for a long time." Jiang Peihuan didn't really want to go out, but she couldn't resist Jiang Xijin's persistence and finally nodded in agreement. They both boarded a carriage and left the general's mansion. Once on the streets, Jiang Xijin didn't want to stay in the carriage any longer, and she started looking at the street stalls. Jiang Xijin was sampling food from every stall she passed. Soon, Yu Er's hands were full of various snacks. Seeing Jiang Xijin still wanting to buy more, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but comment, "Are you planning to bring the whole street back home?" With Jiang Peihuan's intervention, Jiang Xijin didn't buy any more food but instead headed to the 100 Treasure Pavilion. Jiang Peihuan didn't like wearing jewelry, so she sat down on a chair and started observing the items inside the cabinet. She noticed a piece of jade. The jade was still in its raw form and hadn't been carved. Jiang Peihuan had always wanted to give something to Xiao Nanya, considering the many gifts he had given her. Other than a dress, she hadn't given him anything in return. "Elder sister, what are you looking at?" Turning around, Jiang Xijin saw Jiang Peihuan staring at something in the cabinet and quickly approached her. "Young lady, are you interested in this jade?" The store manager, a sharp observer. When he saw Jian Peihuan's appearance, he knew that she had taken a fancy to this piece of jade and quickly went forward. Hearing him, Jiang Peihuan pointed to the jade and asked, "Is this jade for sale?" "Yes, it is." The store manager continued, "Young lady, this jade is of top quality material. It was originally intended to be carved into a seal. However, our craftsman felt it would be better suited as a pendant. But carving it into a pendant would result in significant waste, so our boss decided to just display it as is. What he left unsaid was that if someone wanted it carved into a pendant, the loss would be on them. But Jiang Peihuan understood. The jade was pure white with a faint hint of red, indicating its excellent quality. Turning to the store manager, Jiang Peihuan softly inquired, "How much is this jade?" The manager responded, "Given its rarity, the jade carries a premium price tag of 50,000 taels. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 176, Jiang Peihuan gift a jade pendant 50,000 taels? Are you trying to rob me? Before Jiang Peihuan could even respond to the store manager's quote, Jiang Sai, with fiery eyes, glared at him in indignation. "Third miss, you might not be aware, but this jade is genuinely rare. Just wrap it up for me." 11 Although the jade's price of 50,000 taels was not cheap, Jiang Peihuan felt that the quoted price wasn't too outrageous. She directly addressed the store manager. Seeing Jiang Peihuan's prompt decision, the manager's eyes brimmed with smiles. "Wait a moment, young lady. I'll have someone pack it for you." "Elder sister, you're spending 50,000 taels for this piece of rock. It's not even wearable. Why are you buying it?" "I have my reasons." Upon hearing this, Jiang Xijin refrained from saying anything more. After another round of shopping, they returned to the general's mansion. After returning to the plum garden, Jiang Peihuan looked at Yu and said, "Help me find a set of carving tools." "Eldest miss, do you plan to carve the jade?" "Yes. I'll get them right away." Yu returned shortly after with a set of tools. The jade was about a finger's length. Jiang Peihuan started carving, and by the time she had outlined the pendant, half of the jade had already been wasted. Examining her handiwork, Jiang Peihuan recalled the pendant Xiao Nanye typically wore and decided to engrave a bamboo pattern onto it. However, what she imagined and what she produced were quite different. 6 hours later, she stared at the not-so-perfect bamboo carving on the jade, a wave of frustration washing over her. While skilled in drawing, she realized that carving was an entirely different skill set. Staring at the arguably ugly jade pendant, Jiang Peihuan felt a bit helpless. "Eldest miss, perhaps you should take a break. You've been working on this for quite some time," Yu gently suggested. Upon hearing Yu's words, Jiang Peihuan set down her tools, held up the jade pendant, and asked her, "Tell me honestly, is this pendant ugly?" Yu, gazing at the pendant in Jiang Peihuan's hand, let out a soft chuckle. "Eldest miss, is this intended for King Cheng?" "Yes," Jiang Peihuan confirmed, giving a simple nod. Seeing her affirmation, Yu's smile grew more pronounced. "As long as it's a creation of the eldest miss, one believe His Highness will cherish it." For 2 full days, Jiang Peihuan dedicated herself to refining the jade pendant. With each passing hour, her craftsmanship improved, enhancing the pendant's aesthetics. After a final assessment, she felt a measure of satisfaction. The pendant looked significantly better than its initial iteration. After much perseverance, the jade pendant was finally polished to a smooth finish. Lifting her head, Jiang Peihuan realized that it had grown dark outside. A feeling of unease settled in Jiang Peihuan's heart. Lately, Xiao Nanye had made it a routine to visit her every evening. Yet, including today, 3 days had gone by since their last meeting. Lost in her thoughts, she was jolted back to reality by Yu's respectful greeting. "Greetings, Your Highness." "Where's Huan?" Xiao Nanye asked, his tone even, as he observed the bowing Yu. Yu took a step back, replying in a soft voice, "Eldest miss is in her room." Acknowledging with a nod, Xiao Nanye proceeded to push open the door. The sudden sound made Jiang Peihuan turn instinctively. "Why are you here?" she blurted out upon seeing Xiao Nanye. He offered a faint smile and replied, "Did you miss me over the past 2 days?" Jiang Peihuan's face remained impassive, but Xiao Nanye could sense the faint warmth in her voice. However, she responded with a slight glare. Nevertheless, she poured him a cup of tea, placing it before him, and gently inquired, "Has there been any decision in Recourt?" Taking a sip, Xiao Nanye answered, "Huan I'll be leading the troops into battle tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Jiang Peihuan wasn't surprised about Xiao Nanye's military role, but she hadn't expected it to be so soon. He nodded and continued, "King Chujiang has rebelled. If we wait too long, neighboring vassals might get restless. We need to resolve this quickly. Huan I came tonight for 2 reasons, he continued. Firstly, to bid you farewell, and secondly, to inform you that if this campaign extends beyond 2 months, our wedding might be delayed. Understand, Jiang Peihuan responded with a nod. Seeing no trace of resentment in her gaze, Xiao Nanya looked somewhat contrite. If I can't make it back in time, I'll personally apologize to your parents. There's no need for apologies. It's not your fault. Looking into his eyes, Jiang Peihuan showed a soft smile. Xiao Nanya, haven't you forgotten? Both my parents are from the military. They understand you better than anyone. His expression lightened with a smile, but it soon faded as he gravely added, be wary of Xiao Juanhao after one leave. A few days ago, he was ambiguous about Chujiang King's rebellion. But today, he's strongly advocating for war. I suspect he has ulterior motives. Hearing this, a thoughtful look crossed Jiang Peihuan's face. Seeing Xiao Nanya's concern, she reassured him, don't worry, I'll be cautious. While I'm in the general's mansion, he can't really harm me. After all, the people in the mansion are no pushovers. Interrupting the somber mood, she announced, I have a gift for you. At the mention of a gift, Xiao Nanya's curiosity was instantly kindled. Jiang Peihuan then presented the jade pendant she had carved. She initially planned to give it to him at a later time, but since he's departing tomorrow, she decided to give it now. Receiving the jade pendant, Xiao Nanya's eyes lit up with surprise. Is this for me? Jiang Peihuan was initially worried since Xiao Nanya typically used nothing but the best. However, seeing his delighted reaction, she felt relieved. But as she looked at Xiao Nanya, she softly said, my carving skills aren't that good, so, did you carve this yourself? Before Jiang Peihuan could finish, Xiao Nanya interrupted her with a gentle question. Seeing her nod, the smile in his eyes deepened even more. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 177, Expedition in front of Jiang Peihuan. The man took off the jade pendant from his waist and then put on the pendant that Jiang Peihuan had carved. This was carved by your own hands, Huan. It's more precious than any treasure in the world. While speaking, he gently touched the jade pendant on his waist. I wasn't sure about the design you'd like, so one chose this bamboo pattern. Do you like it? I love it. I really do. As soon as Jiang Peihuan spoke, Xiao Nanya quickly added, by the way, your elder brother is also joining this expedition. My elder brother is going too? It was only then that Xiao Nanya remembered this matter, and Jiang Peihuan's eyes widened in surprise. If Jiang Ailong were the one going on the expedition, Jiang Peihuan wouldn't have been so surprised. But she couldn't understand why Emperor Qiming would send Jiang Changbai along with Xiao Nanya. Perhaps sensing her confusion, Xiao Nanya whispered, even though your father has handed over his military seal, Imperial brother still has his reservations. The great general's fame outside is already high. Unless necessary, the Imperial brother wouldn't let him lead expeditions. But Imperial brother also doesn't want your father to be displeased, so sending your elder brother is the best solution. Plus, I'm the main commander for this expedition, so Imperial brother is at ease. Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, Jiang Peihuan's eyes were filled with a mix of emotions, complexity and helplessness. Throughout her past and present life, the Jiang family has been loyal to Emperor Qiming, yet he never truly trusted them. In this life, influenced by her, Jiang Hong handed over his military seal early. Jiang Peihuan thought this would set the emperor's mind at ease, but it didn't. But understanding an emperor's heart is a challenge. Seeing Jiang Peihuan's silence, Xiao Nanya, thinking she was worried about Jiang Changbai, softly reassured, don't worry. Your elder brother has been in the army for years. He will be fine. Emichem. Since you're leaving for the expedition tomorrow, you probably have a lot to handle tonight. You should return to your mansion. Xiao Nanya wanted to spend more time with Jiang Peihuan since he didn't know when he would return. But hearing her clear hint to leave, he nodded in agreement. After Xiao Nanya left, Jiang Peihuan went to Jiang Changbai's courtyard. Jiang Hong and Shui Yang had just arrived. Seeing them, Jiang Peihuan quickly went up and greeted, "Father, Mother. Huan you're here. Do you know about the expedition tomorrow?" Hearing Jiang Hong's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded. "Don't worry, Huan Your big brother will surely protect King Cheng." Seeing the worry in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, Jiang Chongbua smiled and said. On hearing this, Jiang Peihuan immediately said, "Elder brother, during this expedition, one just hope you can protect yourself. After all, Xiao Nanye was the younger brother of Emperor Qi Ming." Jiang Peihuan believed that nothing would happen to him. But for Jiang Changbai, this time has not leading the Jiang family troops, so she's worried. "Aunt, uncle, how about one go with Changbai this time?" Suddenly, Xueqi spoke. Over the past few days in Jingdou, Xueqi had mostly been with Jiang Changbai at the military camp. When he heard Jiang Changbai was being sent on an expedition, his first reaction was to join. But hearing Xueqi's words, Xueyang immediately refused. "No. Aunt. I said no, and that's final. This is a battlefield, not a vacation. What if something happens to you? How will one face your grandmother and your parents?" Hearing this, Xueqi closed his mouth in silence. "Elder brother, I've prepared some items for you. Take them all with you." Jiang Peihuan handed the things she had prepared to Jiang Changbai. "What's in here?" Jiang Changbai asked as he took them. "Some medicine for injuries and some health pills. These are valuable items." After giving the items to Jiang Changbai, Jiang Peihuan left. She knew that Jiang Hong and Xueyang still had much to tell Jiang Changbai. As she left Jiang Changbai's yard, she saw Lu pacing anxiously. "Lu what are you doing?" Seeing Lu Yue frowned and asked. Hearing the voice, Lu hurriedly approached and, after scanning the surroundings, whispered to Jiang Peihuan, "Eldest miss, Aunt Mai is pregnant." "Are you sure?" During this time, Jian Mai had been staying obediently at the general's mansion. Jiang Peihuan had always asked Lu to monitor Jian Mai. Hearing this news, Jiang Peihuan looked concerned. Lu nodded and whispered, "They've already consulted the doctor. She is indeed pregnant." "Eldest miss, why didn't Aunt Mai inform the old madam about her pregnancy and instead secretly called the doctor?" Yue asked. After a moment of silence, Jiang Peihuan replied, "Keep this quiet for now. Pretend you don't know." Jiang Peihuan then instructed Lu "Continue watching and inform me of any updates." "Understood, eldest miss." Lu responded and then left immediately. Fang Garden. In Aunt Mai's room. "Aunt, should we really not inform the old madam?" The maid was puzzled. She believed that pregnancy was a joyous event, but she didn't see any signs of happiness on Jian Mai's face. "We shouldn't tell anyone," Jian Mai responded, touching her belly with mixed emotions. She was bearing a child from the Jiang family, her adversaries. The child was innocent. Would she really consider harming the baby? That night, many in the general's mansion had restless nights. The next day, outside the city returned soon. "I'll await your report," Emperor Qiming said, handing a wine cup to Xiao Nanye. After drinking the wine, Xiao Nanye replied, "Imperial brother, rest assured. I'll bring back the head of King Chujiang." "Good, I'll be waiting." Upon hearing Xiao Nanye's words, Emperor Qiming's eyes lit up with a smile. It was unexpected for many that Emperor Qiming personally bid farewell to Xiao Nanye as he left for the expedition. With the emperor present, all the officials naturally had to attend. All eyes were on Xiao Nanye, dressed in armor, with various emotions. Among the crowd, only Xiao Juanhao wore a somber expression. He stepped forward, saying with a sly smile, "Imperial uncle, I'm confident you'll return triumphant." "Thanks for your kind words," Xiao Nanye replied, maintaining his composure in front of the emperor. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 178. Want to abort the child. During the conversation, he kept looking beyond the crowd, but never saw that familiar figure. Han Feng stood beside Xiao Nanyi, aware of whom his master was searching for. But eldest Miss Jiang never showed up. After some thought, Han Feng stepped forward and said softly, "Master, it's almost time. Imperial brother, I must go now." Upon hearing Han Feng's words, Xiao Nanye bowed to Emperor Qiming and then bid a farewell. Emperor Qiming nodded in acknowledgement. Subsequently, Xiao Nanyi mounted his horse, looked over the vast army, and loudly commanded, "Move out." The huge army of 100,000 moved in majestic unison, with Xiao Nanye leading the way. Holding the reins with one hand, he gently caressed a jade pendant with the other. This very pendant was a gift from Jiang Peihuan the previous night. Suddenly, an excited voice from Han Feng reached his ears, "Master, it's eldest Miss Jiang." Hearing the voice, Xiao Nanye subconsciously looked up and saw Jiang Peihuan sitting on the back of the Lai Feng from afar. Yi Xiao, riding beside Jiang Peihuan. Seeing the army coming from afar, she said softly, "Eldest Miss, His Highness is here." With a single glance, Jiang Peihuan recognized Xiao Nanye in the lead. Dressed in full military regalia, this was her first time seeing Xiao Nanye so attired. This outfit made him appear even more stern. However, the moment he saw her, the man's eyes instantly softened. Quickly, Xiao Nanye rode up to her side. Jiang Changbai wanted to approach as well, but Han Feng held him back and said, "Young general, have some pity on my master. Has been desperately waiting to see eldest Miss Jiang." Jiang Changbai just rolled his eyes in response and didn't advance. Reaching Jiang Peihuan's side, Xiao Nanye gazed tenderly at her, "I thought you wouldn't come." Today, with the emperor and all the officials present, one didn't want to be in the midst of the crowd. "So, I arrived here early." As they talked, Jiang Peihuan handed over a white porcelain bottle. As he reached for it, she whispered, "This medicine is my own creation, beneficial for vitality and blood circulation." The ingredients for this medicine were acquired from Xiao Juanhao. She knew Xiao Nanye wouldn't be lacking in ordinary medicine, so she prepared something special for heart circulation. Securing the bottle carefully, Xiao Nanyi smiled, "Rest assured, I will return safely. When I do, it will be our wedding." Hearing the man's words, Jiang Peihuan fell silent. After a while, she looked up and nodded with a smile. At that moment, Jiang Changbai approached. "Huan elder brother. I won't be home, so I'll have to trouble you." Jiang Changbai felt guilty. As the eldest son, he should be protecting the Jiang family, but it seemed the responsibility always fell on Jiang Peihuan. Hearing Jiang Changbai's words and seeing the expression in his eyes, Jiang Peihuan smiled and said, "Elder brother, the children of the Jiang family stand united." Looking at Xiao Nanyi and Jiang Changbai, she added, "I'll wait for your return in the capital." The two men nodded at the young lady on horseback. A moment later, the army continued to advance. Only when the army was out of sight did Yi Xiao say, "Eldest miss, let's head back." "Okay." Upon Yi Xiao's suggestion, Jiang Peihuan nodded and rode directly towards the general's mansion. As they neared the entrance, they saw Yu waiting. Seeing Jiang Peihuan, Yu quickly approached, saying, "Eldest miss, Aunt Mai has instructed to prepare abortion medicine." "When?" "An hour ago." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan quickly dismounted and rushed towards Fang Garden, instructing, "Inform grandmother. And also, remember to tell second uncle and second aunt." "Understood, eldest miss." At that time, Jiang Peihuan directly ran to Jian Mai's courtyard. As Jiang Peihuan pushed the door open, she saw Jian Mai taking a bowl of medicine from a maid. Seeing the medicine, Jian Mai's eyes showed mixed feelings. "What are you doing?" Jian Mai was startled by Jiang Peihuan's sudden appearance. However, upon seeing her, she sneered, "I feel unwell and am taking medicine." "Is that your business? Is that abortion medicine in your hand?" Without waiting, Jiang Peihuan stepped forward. Seeing this, Jian Mai tried to drink the medicine, but Jiang Peihuan quickly grabbed her wrist and took the bowl away. She sniffed the medicine, confirming it was indeed abortion medicine. Seeing that her medicine had been snatched away by Jiang Peihuan, Jian Mai's eyes burned with anger. "Give it back to me. Aunt Mai, the child in your stomach is the blood of the Jiang family. You have no right to decide whether he stays or leaves." "What a joke. The child is in my stomach. If I don't want to give birth to him, who can do anything to me? You wicked woman." At this moment, old Madame Jiang also walked in, holding Nanny Zu's hand, followed by Jiang Yuan and Zhu Rongfang. Seeing the scene, Jiang Yuan asked in disbelief, "You're pregnant?" Before Jian Mai could reply, Jiang Yuan said coldly, "Why are you trying to abort the child?" When he heard the maid mention that Jian Mai was pregnant, Jiang Yuan's heart filled with joy. Among the 3 branches of the Jiang family, he was the only one without a son. After so many years, Zhu Rongfang hadn't been pregnant again. He had resigned himself to having only one daughter, Jiang Ruyun. Now, learning that Jian Mai was pregnant, he was hopeful for a son. But hearing she intended to take abortion medicine made him furious. Zhu Rongfang's eyes were filled with complicated emotions. During this time, Jiang Yuan had not visited Jian Mai. She was ready to forgive him and move on. But now, this happened. If there was one thing Zhu Rongfang felt guilty about regarding her relationship with Jiang Yuan, it was that she had not given him a son. Old Madame Jiang looked at Jian Mai with a gloomy expression. "Jian Mai, I don't care what you think. Since you are already Yuan Er's wife, the child in your belly is the blood of the Jiang family. You have no right to abort this child." Old Madame Jiang's words felt like the last straw for Jian Mai. She looked at those before her and said with a dark expression, "The Jiang family values its own flesh and blood so much. Why can't you cherish the lives of others? What do you mean by that?" Hearing Jian Mai's words, old Madame Jiang frowned. Yet, Jian Mai, seeing the expression in her eyes, revealed a mocking smile. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 179. Kill Xiao Nanya at all cost. She turned to look at Jiang Yuan with cold eyes. "Jiang Yuan, didn't you tell the Jiang family that my father saved your life? My father died because he saved you. My Jian family suffered because of the Jiang family. During her time with the Jiang family, Jian Mai dreamt every night of hurting them, but she could never bring herself to do it. And now, she was pregnant. She couldn't harm the Jiang family, but she refused to give birth to the child of her enemy." Upon hearing this, old Madame Jiang's eyes filled with confusion. She looked at Jian Mai, asking, "What are you saying? I'm not making things up, old madam. Why don't you ask your son? Yes, your father saved Jiang Yuan, but you're unaware that Jiang Yuan also saved your entire family." "Father." As Jiang Hong approached, Jiang Peihuan quickly stepped forward to greet him with a bow. Jiang Hong nodded in acknowledgement and then said to Jian Mai, "When you were 10, due to your father's negligence, military rations were stolen. By the laws of the Qi kingdom, that's a crime punishable by death." Jiang Yuan risked his life to retrieve the stolen rations. Though he succeeded, the emperor began to dislike him. For many years, has been nothing more than a 5th-grade official. "This can't be true." Jian Mai's eyes widened in disbelief at Jiang Hong's words. Jiang Peihuan softly told Jian Mai, "Aunt Mai, if you investigate, you'll see if this is true or false. Also, your younger brother is still alive." "That's impossible. Our Yarrow died in that fire. Years ago, after hearing of their father's demise, her mother set their house on fire. Jian Mai survived only because she was playing outside at the time." Hearing Jiang Peihuan's claim about her brother, Jian Mai didn't believe it, but hope filled her eyes. Jiang Peihuan gestured towards Yi Xiao. Shortly after, Yi Xiao entered with a boy of about 8 or 9 years. The boy seemed unfamiliar but had a clear gaze. Tears welled up in Jian Mai's eyes upon seeing him. He bore a striking resemblance to her father. "All Yao?" She tried to approach, but the boy evaded her. Pain showed in her eyes. "All Yao, I'm your sister. Don't you recognize me?" Before Jian Mai could advance further, Jiang Peihuan intervened, "Has been raised by the Meng family these years. He doesn't remember you." "The Meng family? Wasn't it Meng Yi who sent you here?" Before Jian Mai could respond, Jiang Peihuan continued, "One only learned of this recently. Your brother didn't die in the fire. A nanny rescued him, and the Meng family hid him. But why would Uncle Meng do that? He was my father's trusted friend. He might have been close to my father, but he still poisoned my older brother during a battle." Jian Mai was taken aback by Jiang Peihuan's revelation. She was aware of Meng Yi's act of poisoning Jiang Changbai and knew Prince Qing was behind it. Jiang Yuan, speak to her. Jiang Hong directed his words to his brother, then assisted old Madame Jiang out of Jian Mai's room. As they exited, Jian Mai's cries filled the air. Father, did you know about Jian Mai's true identity? After settling the old madam in the chrysanthemum hall, Jiang Peihuan posed the question to her father. Jiang Hong nodded in confirmation. After a brief pause, he told Jiang Peihuan, I let her stay with the Jiang family to provide her shelter. Father, how do you plan to deal with Meng Yi? Upon hearing this, Jiang Hong's eyes revealed a hint of pain and discomfort. Before the incident with Jiang Changbai, he had always considered Meng Yi as his own brother. Meng Yi was almost a regular guest at the general's mansion. After a while, Jiang Hong looked at Jiang Peihuan and said, Huan I know you worry that one might be too lenient, but rest assured, I won't risk the entire Jiang family's lives. I'll handle Meng Yi myself. Jiang Peihuan wanted to say more, but seeing the sadness in Jiang Hong's eyes, she simply nodded. Having memories from her past life, she knew that because of Meng Yi and Xiao Juanhao, the entire Jiang family had been wiped out. So, she deeply resented Meng Yi. However, Jiang Hong's resentment towards Meng Yi was not as intense as Jiang Peihuan's. Unknown to Jiang Peihuan, at that moment, Meng Yi was in Xiao Junhao's palace, discussing how to deal with Xiao Nanya. Looking at the person seated at the main seat, Meng Yi said directly, Your Highness, I will depart for Jiangju immediately. This time, I will ensure Xiao Nanya doesn't return. You must ensure no one finds out about this. If news of his collusion with King Chujiang to harm Xiao Nanya leaked, he would be doomed. Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Meng Yi quickly nodded, Your Highness, rest assured, no one else will know. Even if things go wrong, I'll take full responsibility and not involve you. You are my man, I won't let you face danger alone. So be careful. Hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Meng Yi's eyes revealed gratitude. He then left the mansion. After Meng Yi's departure, Pei Wu approached Xiao Juanhao, Your Highness, can Meng Yi really eliminate King Cheng? By himself, it's difficult. But there's more than one person after Xiao Nanya. Thinking of that person, Xiao Juanhao smiled. In the palace, at Sinying Hall, the great Empress Dowager looked at the man in black kneeling before her and coldly ordered, Go to Jiangju immediately and kill Xiao Nanya at all costs. This man in black was a shadow guard left to the great Empress Dowager by the late emperor. Most of her guards had been killed by Xiao Nanya, leaving only a few. Hearing her command, the man hesitated, Your Highness, if we kill King Cheng, Jiangju might fall into chaos. Perhaps King Chujiang will. Is Xiao Nanya the only one who can lead troops? Isn't the eldest son of the Jiang family also there? If Xiao Nanya dies, let him handle things. If that doesn't work, send all the military generals to Jiangju. In any case, that traitor Xiao Nanya must be killed. The mere mention of Xiao Nanya made the great Empress Dowager's eyes blaze with anger. The man in black wanted to say more, but in the end, he shut his mouth and bowed, yes. Then he left Sinying Hall. An elderly nanny approached the great Empress Dowager. Your Highness, are you rushing things? Wasn't the plan to act after King Cheng's wedding? Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 180. No food supplies. I can't bear this weight any longer. If we don't take action now and wait for that cursed troublemaker to finish the battle, the emperor might indulge him even more. When the great Empress Dowager voiced this sentiment, a cold fierceness glinted in her eyes. The old nanny beside her intended to comment. But upon glimpsing the resolve in the great Empress Dowager's eyes, she chose to remain silent. Due to King Chujiang's rebellion, a tense quiet enveloped the Qi kingdom. Since both Xiao Nanya and Jiang Changbai were dispatched to the front lines, the entire general's mansion was in suspense, awaiting news. Yet, 10 days had elapsed since the troops departed, and no word had reached them from the front. Jiang Xijin too had returned to the military camp. Early in the morning, Jiang Peihuan went to Yanglin Garden. She had intended to join Shui Yang for breakfast, but nearing the entrance, she was met with the fiery rage in Jiang Hong's voice. These peoples, they're nothing but parasites. The Emperor hasn't issued a statement, best hold your tongue. How can one stay silent? Changbai is still in combat, and King Cheng, leading this campaign, is without supplies. How are they expected to wage war? Although Jiang Hong harbored reservations about the marriage between Xiao Nanye and Jiang Peihuan, he genuinely respected Xiao Nanye as a person. Thus, with such a calamity befalling the court, his soldier's heart burned with fury. Father, mother. Jiang Peihuan gracefully entered the main hall, extending courtesies to the two elders. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, Jiang Hong stopped cursing. A hint of a smile played on his lips. Huan what brings you here? I assumed you'd be visiting the military camp today, father. So, I came to accompany mother for breakfast. Father, could you clarify your comments about the grain? Previously, Jiang Hong refrained from discussing court matters with his children. However, recent events underscored to him that his eldest daughter was far from ordinary. Meeting Jiang Peihuan's inquisitive gaze, he whispered, 10 days ago, King Cheng and your elder brother led the troops, having only 5 days' worth of grain. They were assured of subsequent supplies, but 10 days have now passed, and the Ministry of Revenue remains unable to furnish the grain. And the emperor? How would he address this? After all, Xiao Nanye is his brother, his blood kin. Were it anyone else, perhaps the emperor's concern might wane. However, Jiang Peihuan personally witnessed Emperor Qiming's fondness for Xiao Nanye. Jiang Hong's eyes clouded with a mix of frustration and resignation. The emperor is anxious every day, but the national treasury is empty. He has no choice. There were only 5 days' worth of rations, but Xiao Nanye and the others had already set off for 10 days. Traditionally, in battles between two forces, securing food supplies took precedence. With thoughts of Xiao Nanye and Jiang Changbai weighing on her, Jiang Peihuan's eyes brimmed with deep concern. Jiangju. Inside the military camp. Your Highness, without any food today, our soldiers will not endure. Since their arrival in Jiangju, the camp's meals were reduced to thin porridge, the kind where rice grains were barely visible. Today, there wasn't even rice for that. Seated, Xiao Nanye's face had lost its color. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. He absent-mindedly fingered a jade pendant, the same one Jiang Peihuan gifted him. Upon hearing the concern, Xiao Nanye questioned, "Where is the young general?" "Your Highness." Before Xiao Nanye could elaborate, Jiang Changbai entered, drawing the curtain behind him. Jiang Changbai, too, looked troubled. He had spent years in the army, but this scarcity was unprecedented. Recognizing him, Xiao Nanye inquired, "Have you gathered the information?" Jiang Changbai nodded. "Indeed. It seems King Chujiang has stored most of the grain in his palace. However, a portion remains in the granary by the docks outside the city. Tonight, we'll raid the docks and seize the grain," declared Xiao Nanye. Understood. Jiang Changbai had no objections to Xiao Nanye's decision. On the battlefield, it's kill or be killed. Without food, their troops would face starvation. Later that evening, Xiao Nanye, accompanied by Han Feng, left the camp. Turning to Jiang Changbai, he said, "During my absence, the camp's responsibilities are yours." "Your wishes will be honored, Your Highness," Jiang Changbai affirmed. With a nod, Xiao Nanye departed. The Jingdo. Ever since she left Yanglin, Jiang Peihuan's mind was consumed with securing grain supplies. Yi Xiao, summon Deputy General Liu. Understood. Soon after, Deputy General Liu entered the plum garden. As he prepared to offer his respects, Jiang Peihuan cut to the chase. "Deputy General Liu, I want you to use this money to acquire grain. Eldest Miss, the commoners have sufficient grain at the moment. Despite having money, many are reluctant to sell it. No matter. If they won't sell for 1 coin, offer 2. While speaking, Jiang Peihuan handed Deputy General Liu a stack of silver notes. These were the reparations from Huainan Mansion, initially given to her and Xiao Nanye in gold. The funds could now be utilized to buy the much-needed grain. We should also consider checking the grain stores within the city. Eldest Miss, young Master Liu and Miss Liu have arrived." Before Jiang Peihuan could finish her sentence, Yue made her entrance. After a brief exchange with Deputy General Liu, her gaze shifted to the entrance. Liu Hao and Liu Xin were brought in by Yue. Sister Jiang. Eldest Miss Jiang. Upon spotting Jiang Peihuan, the Liu siblings promptly approached to pay their respects. Jiang Peihuan stepped forward, assisting Liu Xin to her feet. Xin what brings you here today? Are you visiting third aunt? Sister Jiang, we're not here for our aunt today. We came to see you. For me. Liu Xin's words clouded Jiang Peihuan's eyes with confusion. Sensing her bewilderment, Liu Hao advanced, speaking softly, Miss Jiang, I'm aware of the court's current grain shortage. Our Liu family possesses a stock of 100,000 ton of grain. We wish to donate this to the army. Cousin Liu, such a gesture is no small matter. Is this a mutual decision between you and Xin or is it influenced by Uncle Liu? In these time, 100,000 ton of rice was even more precious than 100,000 gold. Rest assured, eldest Miss Jiang. This decision stems from my father. Why didn't he approach the emperor directly? Why seek me? Being imperial merchants, the Liu family had the privilege to meet the emperor personally. This detail deepened Jiang Peihuan's intrigue. Liu Xin intervened, Sister Jiang, our intent is for the grain to sustain our troops, not to be squandered among the court officials. However, if the supplies were handed over directly to Emperor Qiming, their actual destination remained uncertain. Though Liu Xin's implications were subtle, Jiang Peihuan grasped the underlying message. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 181, Request to escort the grain. After some thought, Jiang Peihuan whispered, Xin on behalf of the army's soldiers, I thank you. Let me handle this matter. Very well, Sister Jiang, we will await your update. Understood. Once the Liu siblings were sent to Elegant Garden, Jiang Peihuan took Yi Xiao and departed. Yi Xiao, are you familiar with the location of the Prince-An mansion? Yes, I am. Take me to Prince-An. As you wish. Upon leaving the general's mansion, Jiang Peihuan, with Yi Xiao, headed straight to Prince An's mansion. Xiao Junmo was coincidentally at home. Hearing that Miss Jiang, the eldest daughter of the Jiang family, sought an audience, he promptly had her ushered in. Xiao Junmo awaited in the main hall. As Jiang Peihuan entered, he swiftly approached. Eldest Miss Jiang, to what do I owe the pleasure of your visit to my mansion? Is there a matter at hand? Jiang Peihuan advanced, offering a formal bow, then murmured, Your Highness, I am here today with an urgent request. What is it? Tell me. As long as it's within my power, you have my assistance. I wish to meet with the Emperor. Can Your Highness escort me into the palace? You seek an audience with Imperial Father. Eldest Miss Jiang, might one inquire the purpose of your visit? After briefly outlining the grain issue, Jiang Peihuan added, I intend to supply the army directly with 100,000 ton of grain. However, the emperor must be informed. Upon hearing this, Xiao Junmo promptly concurred, Eldest Miss Jiang, allow me to introduce you to the emperor. Follow me. Being the youngest prince, Xiao Junmo was bestowed by Emperor Qiming with the unique privilege of unhindered access to the imperial palace. Even accompanied by Jiang Peihuan, none dared to stop Xiao Junmo. It wasn't until they reached Chengqian Palace that Xiao Junmo turned to Jiang Peihuan, gently instructing, Eldest Miss Jiang, I shall speak with my imperial father first. Please wait here. Yes. Upon Xiao Yuanmo's departure, Jiang Peihuan spotted Xiao Juanhao exiting with a radiant smile. However, upon noticing Jiang Peihuan, Xiao Junhao's mirth vanished. Why are you here? Greetings, Prince Qing. Rather than answering Xiao Junhao's inquiry, Jiang Peihuan gracefully bowed. Despite her internal disdain for the man before her, she acknowledged the solemnity of the palace and accorded the necessary respect. Jiang Peihuan, 1 a.m. asking you a question. Did you not hear? Prince Qing, it was Prince An who invited me. A hint of scorn flashed across Xiao Junhao's eyes, clearly skeptical of Jiang Peihuan's claim. Just as he was about to speak, Xiao Junmo walked over with a smile in his eyes. He waved at Jiang Peihuan and said excitedly, Miss Jiang, come quickly. Imperial Father has agreed to see you. Without sparing Xiao Juanhao another glance, Jiang Peihuan proceeded directly into Chenqing Hall. This humble servant pays her respects to your majesty. Walking to the table, Jiang Peihuan knelt down, offering a deep bow to Emperor Qiming. Observing the person kneeling before him, Emperor Qiming remarked calmly, "Princeton has informed me that you bear important news." "What is it?" "Your Majesty, the Liu family wishes to present King Cheng with 100,000 ton of grain as a testament to their loyalty as imperial merchants. However, they are uncertain about delivering this grain to the military and thus approached me for assistance. I too am uncertain about ensuring the safe delivery of this vast amount of grain to our troops, which is why one sought an audience with you." Jiang Peihuan's voice notably emphasized her intent to deliver every grain without loss. Hearing this, a wave of surprise flashed across Emperor Qiming's eyes, swiftly followed by a glimmer of joy, which just as quickly vanished. Directing his gaze at the still kneeling Jiang Peihuan, the emperor inquired, "You're here because you fear the court ministers will misappropriate the Liu family's grain, correct?" "Indeed, Your Majesty," Jiang Peihuan confirmed without hesitation. Taken aback by her frankness, Emperor Qiming remarked coolly after a brief pause, "You seem bolder than your father. This humble servant would not dare. Enough of pretenses. One gather that you wish to send the grain directly to the army, avoiding any interference from the court. The question then remains, who will oversee this transport?" "Your father." "No, Your Majesty." She shook her head, then raised it to meet the emperor's gaze, stating, "I volunteer to personally escort the military supplies." "You," the emperor echoed, clearly surprised. "Yes," she affirmed, her eyes unwavering. Their gazes locked, hers full of determination, his laden with conflict. Trusting such a significant task to Jiang Peihuan wasn't a decision made lightly. However, her intentions were clear. The grain was meant for Xiao Nanye and Jiang Changbai, and she wouldn't allow anyone else to intervene. "Jiang Peihuan, are you aware of the dire consequences if any mishap befalls the grain transport? Should the grain face any misfortune under my watch, I am prepared to pay the ultimate price." "Very well, if you are bold enough to make such a pledge, then I shall entrust you with this task. The 100,000 ton of grain will be under your protection." "Your Majesty, I have one more request." "And what might that be?" "Although I am but a woman, one have been trained in martial arts since childhood and have accompanied my father into battle. This time in Jiangju, I wish to join my brother on his campaign. Upon the army's return, I shall head back to the capital. I've heard you sustained injuries in a past battle, leaving lingering ailments." Concern flickered in Emperor Qiming's eyes. She bowed her head in gratitude, responding, "Your concern warms my heart, Your Majesty. However, I assure you my health has since recovered. Since, I shall grant your wish. One await your return alongside Xiao Nanye." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Mention of Xiao Nanye prompted Jiang Peihuan to offer a deep bow of respect. Shortly after, she exited the palace. Upon returning to the general's mansion, an imperial edict from Emperor Qiming awaited her. The decree conferred upon Jiang Peihuan the esteemed title of general, charging her with the safe escort of the grain and to accompany the departing troops. Jiang Hong and Shui Yang were informed just as Jiang Peihuan finished her preparations. Beholding her in full military attire, their eyes mirrored a complicated emotions. "Huan are you certain?" "Mother, worry not. I will return unscathed," Jiang Peihuan reassured, noting the worry in Shui Yang's eyes. Shui Yang sighed, "It's best if we handle the grain transport ourselves. Huan for this campaign, I bequeath command of the Flying Feathers Army to you." With those words, she handed a black command seal to Jiang Peihuan. The rhythmic march of soldiers soon echoed, as a regiment arrayed themselves before her. Leading them were Lin Xiao and Wang Ying, both offering their salutes, "At your command, Miss Jiang." Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. Chapter 182, Jiang Peihuan's departure. The Flying Feathers Army was established by Shui Yang. Despite its small size and being comprised entirely of women, each member was formidable. Under Shui Yang's leadership, they had garnered significant military achievements. However, once Jiang Hong relinquished his military power, The Flying Feathers army became the Jiang family's ace up their sleeve. Jiang Peihuan, seeing the Flying Feathers army before her, hesitated. Turning to Shui Yang, she softly said, "Mother, while I'm transporting the grains, the Emperor has already dispatched soldiers. Perhaps you should keep the Flying Feathers army close. Both your father and one are in the capital, safe from harm. Please, take the Flying Feathers army with you." "Huan heed your mother's advice," Jiang Hong added in a low voice. Recognizing his intent, Jiang Peihuan nodded, taking the command seal offered to her. Checking the time, she addressed Jiang Hong and Shui Yang, "Father, mother, it's getting late. One must depart." "Very well. Huan come back safely," old Madame Jiang, with teary eyes, implored as she gazed upon Jiang Peihuan in her military attire. The thought of her great-grandson facing peril in battle had been nerve-wracking enough. Now with Jiang Peihuan setting off, concern dominated the old madame's eyes. Acknowledging the old madame's anxiety, Jiang Peihuan approached, bowed deeply, and assured, "Grandmother, one promised to return safely." "All right, my dear. I'll await your return," the old madame replied with palpable emotion. If Jiang Ruyun still felt that the Jiang family treated her differently from Jiang Peihuan in the past, then at this moment, she was very indifferent. Eldest sister was indeed stronger than her. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan responded with a reassuring smile, "One trust you." After offering a respectful bow to the gathered crowd, Jiang Peihuan spurred her horse forward. The supplies were already at the Jiang mansion's entrance, collected by soldiers from Emperor Qi Ming. Without further delay, Jiang Peihuan declared, "Let's move out." With her command, the group promptly advanced towards Jiangju. Remembering that 10 days had passed since Xiao Nanyes incident, Jiang Peihuan felt a growing urgency. The journey from Jingdou to Jiangju would span 2 to 3 days. Fearing that the army wouldn't endure without supplies, she addressed her troops, "Before King Cheng departed, their food supplies would last only 5 days. It's been 10 days since then, so we must hasten our pace." "We understand, eldest miss." The person who spoke was Xu Jiao. He was the vice commander of the imperial army and was also the person sent by Emperor Qi Ming to accompany Jiang Peihuan. Although Emperor Qi Ming had promised Jiang Peihuan to let her escort the grain, he still had to send someone to take over. Hearing Xu Jiao's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded. As they sped on, the distant beat of hooves reached them. Yi Xiao, close by, turned her head to identify the newcomer and whispered to Jiang Peihuan, "Miss, it's the young Master Xue." Following her gaze, Jiang Peihuan recognized Xue Qi approaching. She had wondered about his absence at the general's mansion earlier, only to realize he'd secretly set out ahead. Pulling on her reins, she waited for Xue Qi. Upon reaching her, before Jiang Peihuan could address him, Xue Qi hurriedly spoke, "I've informed my aunt and family. One couldn't let you undertake this journey alone, one must accompany you." Jiang Peihuan, with a mix of amusement and resignation, asked, "Would it matter if one objected?" Seeing her expression, Xue Qi grinned, "Naturally, it wouldn't. In that case, I appreciate your company, cousin Qi." All right. He laughed lightly, nodding in acknowledgement. Their brief exchange didn't impede the group's progress. In the beginning, the group moved quickly. However, by the time they reached the outskirts of the city, their pace had noticeably slowed. "Why have we slowed down, Commander Xu?" Noticing the change in speed, Jiang Peihuan turned her gaze to Xu Jiao. Xu Jiao met her eyes, his own filled with a mix of embarrassment and helplessness. "Eldest miss," he whispered, "the men I've brought this time aren't accustomed to long marches. We've been on our feet for over 2 hours. They've reached their limits." He seemed somewhat chagrined as he continued, especially given that none of the women from the feathered army appeared fatigued. In stark contrast, the imperial soldiers he'd brought were visibly struggling. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's brow furrowed. She remained silent for a moment, then instructed, "Allow the troops a brief rest." "Thank you, eldest miss," Xu Jiao expressed with gratitude. At Xu Jiao's mention of rest, the exhausted imperial soldiers almost immediately collapsed onto the ground. Xue Qi, standing beside Jiang Peihuan, looked on with barely concealed disdain. Such a display would earn nothing but scorn back in Qingju, he remarked dryly. Enough, Cousin Chi, Jiang Peihuan whispered. Worried that his comment might incite tensions, she shot him a cautionary glance. Chastened by Jiang Peihuan's look, Xue Qi bit back any further comments. From where she stood on the city's outskirts, Jiang Peihuan's gaze traveled to the distant Jiangju. Her eyes mirrored deep concern. There had been no word from Jiangju, and Jiang Peihuan's anxiety for Xiao Nanye and Jiang Chongbai grew. Jiangju young general, the king and his men have returned, a voice reported. When Xiao Nanye left with his men last night, Jiang Chongbai had been guarding Xiao Nanye's tent. He did not sleep for the entire night. When he heard the noise outside, Jiang Chongbai immediately stood up. As soon as he lifted the curtain, Jiang Chongbai saw the food on the horse. Although it wasn't much, only about 20 ton, it could at least allow the soldiers to hold on for another day. Xiao Nanye strode over and Jiang Chongbai quickly went up to him. Your Highness. Nodding at Jiang Chongbai, Xiao Nanye looked at Lin Xingchen and said, ask the kitchen to cook all the food. Yes, Your Highness. As Lin Xingchen moved to execute the order, Jiang Chongbai turned to Xiao Nanye, concern evident in his voice. Your Highness, we're out of food in the camp. Shouldn't we reserve some of this? Even if all of this food is cooked, it's only enough for today's food. There's no need to keep it. As he spoke, Xiao Nanye walked into the tent. Follow current novels on tarpnovelful.com. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.